the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
CAIN, welcome.
Hey, what's up,
Dude,
guys?
it's great to have you in here.
It's great to be here.
Dude, you already, right off the bat, man, you brought me you were telling me the story, and I said, no, save it. But you brought this great, your show poster, and you said it was your very first one ever, right?
That was my second show I produced. Yeah.
And I'm just going to read the names, because you made an appearance to me. So we've got you on here now on the show, Liz Mooney, who's been on here, Peyton Payne, who's been on here, Andrew Deacon, Megan King, Des O'Neill, and the only one who hasn't, who I need to get out and watch, is Taylor P.
Yes.
So this was your second ever show. They all signed it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty
so
rad.
when I was producing shows, I say was because I'm taking at least this year off from producing shows.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would print out all these like high quality 11 by 17 posters, and then I'd have everyone sign them. That way I can keep one up and like frame it in like a future room or something.
Yeah, man.
And also just to give out when I go to podcast or, anything where I'm like, I want to bring a gift.
No, I appreciate it. Because, I mean, I talk to people about that all the time about, you just don't know when each person's going to kind of pop off and do their thing.
Yeah.
But they're all good
Yeah.
comics,
And all of them, everyone that's on the show also gets a signed copy of the poster.
Oh, so they have one too.
Yeah.
That's rad. That's rad. I hope they all hold on to it. Yeah, dude, it's super high quality. And people forget how expensive this stuff is to like do it right.
Right.
And it's time consuming.
These weren't too bad. It's just the only thing is, and I learned this from producing my first show. The reason these came out as good as they did is because I ordered them directly online from Office Depot.
Yeah.
But when you do that, it takes like 2 weeks to get them in the mail.
Yeah.
So
Office Depot coming in clutch.
Right. That's why I just do it after the shows now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks great, man. Taylor P., I've heard many good things about her. I just don't know anything about her yet.
Oh, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
That was one of my first like real friends in stand-up when I started.
Yeah, because I've noticed you're part of that. Like, I just shared that clip today with Paxton Bailey talking about you guys. How comics that they want to see, and he was talking about, you guys are all part of that class together, kind of like that little group of comics that came in at the same time.
Yeah, me and Kenny Lee actually started 2 weeks apart.
Okay, all right.
Like to the day. So he's one of the like very close starters with me.
Nice. Yeah, y'all got a killer little group, man. Y'all got some sharp people in there.
Yeah, it's a great class of coming up, and it's cool to see, especially you talk to the people that have been in it 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, and it feels good to be seen as almost like peers with those people.
Yeah,
because they've seen so many people come in and out, and I don't think they've seen as many of us from like one class rise that quickly.
Yeah, I've been fortunate now to see maybe like 3 groups. Like there were a lot of people pre-COVID, right? And that's kind of like right when I was starting this, COVID came in. It was like the tail end. I think I started like summer of 2019. COVID hit, and I kind of took a break from this because nobody wanted to come on and be interviewed. Everybody was scared, right? And then when it kicked back up, I guess probably in 2021. Boom, there was a new group of people. Like you had all these restless people, I think, from COVID who are like, oh, I'll try comedy or improv or whatever. And then now I've seen maybe another class after that, which I guess is y'all.
Yeah, well, technically my first time I ever tried it was when I was like 18.
Oh, wow.
So that had to be back in like 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where was that at?
Hyenas.
The Dallas one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. And that open mic, that was the first, just as a fan, that was the first open mic I ever went to watch, because I have a background in music, so I had an idea of what an open mic might be like, because they do music open mics. I wasn't prepared.
I wasn't prepared,
the Wednesday, I don't know what it was like in 2015, but I would have went around probably 2018. So if it was kind of the same then, I was not prepared for the Hyenas open mic kind of like at its strongest, I guess, maybe then. Maybe an older generation of it was even stronger. I don't know. But I walk in and it's like, I didn't know there were going to be blocks with 8 or 9 comics each, and you're looking at a list of like 50, 60 comics.
Right. That's how it was when I went.
Okay,
I first started. And I remember, I was like 18. I got there like at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday to sign up. I was one of the first people to sign up, and I didn't go up till like 2:30 in the morning.
It's brutal.
Yeah. And I shout out to my sister. She's been a day one supporter.
Was she hanging with you that night?
Yeah, she drove me to my first open mic, and she went with me to the next like 2 or 3. I only did like 2 or 3 when I was like 18 over the span of a couple months.
Yeah.
She was there at every single one of them, and then some stuff happened. I just kind of had to stop, and it took until 2022 to like actually fully get back into it.
Big break.
Yeah.
Did any of that material you tried at that first open mic survive to today? Was any of it any good?
Oh, from like the very
yeah, it was all garbage.
No, I won't. Okay, if I go back and watch, because I still have all the videos.
You did film it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I keep everything.
Good.
I'm a very much like, future me will love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, just like the poster. Yeah.
So I have gone back and watched it a couple times, and the first like open mic I ever did, it was like all like hack, like internet material. Like it was just bad. The second time I went was after a trip in Mexico that I took, so it was like all fresh. And that one was actually like original stuff that I thought of while I was on the trip, and I did pretty good at that one. Like looking back, I'm like, you know what? If I would have worked on that, that could have been something. But again, I only went to like 2 or 3 open mics, and I didn't know the process of like, oh, this is just testing material. You know, you still work on this. You try to fix this.
So you were thinking this is like the big show. Like,
I was thinking like, okay, you do this and it's done. You do it and done. So it was like all new sets the 3 or 4 times that I did go.
Man, the open mic, I have almost insisted that I will never, ever try stand-up comedy because I like being on this side of it.
Yeah.
You know, I know enough about it. I don't want to peel back the curtain anymore. You know what I mean? Because I feel like once you get behind the mic and do it, you have a different perspective, right? You have a comic's perspective, I think.
Right.
But also I'm like, part of me really wants to feel the pressure and the nerves to be able to relate more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have no desire to do comedy, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I'd write a couple minutes and just try and just see what that.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a desire to just like kill. You know, you want to see that feeling.
I actually would. The killing is fine. That would be fine. I would want to feel, honestly, the like the more masochistic side of like a bomb.
Oh, you want to feel the bomb.
You know, like you're going up a room with 10 people.
Yeah.
And they're not really that interested. You know, some of them are comics. Some of them are like maybe like a bar open mic, you know, where.
Oh, those are the worst.
Right. but, you know, I feel like if you can understand that and respect it, you know, I already do now, but it's like if you can really feel of like just how hard it is to squeak out a good laugh.
Right.
You know, because I mean, I think anyone like me could get lucky one time with a couple jokes in like a sold out room of people who want to see comedy.
Yeah.
They're already on your side enough. Like you could get a laugh maybe, you know. But in one of those rooms where it's an open mic or a bar mic and they're just not feeling it, you know, it's like that just seems so hard.
Yeah.
So difficult.
And when you do well, it makes you feel even like.
Yeah, you earn it.
Yeah, like even higher up, like, oh man.
You really earn it.
Like they weren't listening to anybody.
I went to a lot of open mics, and several of them I was watching from open to close, like beginning to end, the long ones, just because I just wanted to feel that process of like, how many are good, how many are terrible, you know, and it really gave me a whole new appreciation just for when you watch somebody do a clean hour, and you know how much effort went into that. You know, when you see somebody who's been doing it 20 years and you know the like first 5 or 6 years was probably like rough.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just grinding constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you decide to stop? You said I'm going to take a break from producing shows.
The last couple shows that I had didn't do well ticket wise.
Yeah.
Not terrible, just not what I wanted. And I figured it was better for me to just focus on building my name up so that once I do start producing again, we can maybe go off of, you know, that instead of just trying to sell a show. Because, I mean, I was putting together really good lineups. Like, these are all some of my favorite people. And the whole time I was producing, I never repeated a comic. It was always new people. And it was always just who did I think was the funniest and who did I think was the best.
Were you doing them through DCC mostly?
Yeah,
Dallas
all
Comedy
of them
Club?
were at Dallas Comedy Club.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because they put on a lot of those good shows. You know, they give comics a lot of chances to put on a show and get work, like, you know, to make those shows that are in between the open mics and the big shows.
Right.
And, but man, I see it all the time. It is tough to move tickets at y'all's level. It's just hard.
It is tough, but I also think like some of the feedback that I got, I was going to say criticism, but I don't even know if I want to call it that.
Yeah.
Just feedback was a lot of my shows were like, we don't know what this is, like, because it was like too like conceptual, and like shows weren't themed. It was just I like to set like a tone or like a vibe for what the show was, even if it didn't match like what the material was.
So like
be.
what was one example?
I would just come up with these dumb names for the shows that I thought was funny, and I would like build themes around that. So like one of them was Cosmic Abyss.
Okay.
And all the posters were like space themed. Another one was Descendants of Grimaldi.
Okay, all right.
And that one,
I see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
You like it, but the club's thinking, how do we make a flyer
Right.
where
Well,
a
I was
stranger
making
understands?
all my flyers. I was
Yeah.
making everything. But like, I would post it on their page, obviously. I would send them all the info for them to post and be like, we don't know what this is. And I'm like, it's art. That's what it is. All right.
What have you had a knack for like artistic things, making posters, things like that? Okay.
I do everything myself.
You know what that makes me think of is, like I said, my music background. Like one of the few people that can do it right now on like kind of a big level is Jack White from the White Stripes. Like,
Love Jack White.
You know, he has that attention to detail and all that kind of stuff. But when he released an album recently, and he was doing these little small clubs before he did his big tour.
Yeah.
And it was kind of last minute shows, and like his diehard fans got emails first, and it was really cool. But he was also doing that old school, like, we're going to make a specific flyer for this show tonight. And it didn't even have to really make sense. It was like, what's a cool artistic flyer?
Yeah.
And he's going to put just enough symbolism of something on there that they're like, oh, that's a Jack White poster.
Yeah.
It wouldn't outright say Jack White all the time. You know,
that was my thing, where it's like,
yeah.
I just wanted I wanted the, not theme, but like I wanted people to look at it and be like, okay, only CAIN would do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard. I think that's really important to do
Yeah.
that. It's just hard, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's hard starting out.
Yeah, yeah. It's a slow build, and then when people get into it, they're like, "Oh, yes, 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 yes."
That's why I'm saying I
Yeah.
need to focus on building my audience more until I get to that point where like the people that are already on board are like, "Oh, we like that."
So, what kind of artistic touch are you into with when you're trying to blend it with this comedy? You were saying with the posters earlier, but like, how far do you think you're going to take it? What's some stuff you're wanting to do?
I don't know. I like every aspect of art. Like I'm super attention to detail. So like everything is very intentional. Anything that I put out, like it get like, to me, I look at anything that I touch as like my stamp of approval. It's me like telling my fan base like, this isn't some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like this is something I agree with. So that's like, down to like my Instagram aesthetic, my ticket link in my bio. Like it's all color coded. It's all like, it looks a certain way. If I don't know, it's just like I want to like build this like universe where it's like, oh, this is like the CAIN thing.
Dude, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. I love it because, I mean, why not, right? Why not get super personal with it?
Right.
Where it's yours, And once people do catch on, right? Like I said, it's a slow burn. But once they get there, they're kind of all in.
Yeah.
Because then somebody can buy, like some merch or something, and it doesn't have to outright say CAIN.
Yeah.
And somebody else who knows you and sees that shirt on somebody else is like, CAIN?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. And
Yeah, that's
those little things where like now all of a sudden people are kind of bonding without having to have this walking advertisement.
right. That's one of the things that I want to get to at the point for merch where it's like it doesn't have to be based on a joke. It doesn't have to be based on anything. It's just like, this is just a cool shirt you could wear.
I hate the joke-based merch.
Yeah,
I'm going
all
on
of it.
record. It's stupid.
It sells well.
I have a theory, though,
Yeah.
that it sells well to the drunk person who is not necessarily going to remember to come watch you later.
Right. But
Right?
in the moment when I need
I know
some
when you need
money to
money.
go
I know.
home, yeah.
I hear you. When you need money right away, but I'm saying in terms of like merch
Yeah.
for like, fans, I don't think any real fan is ever picking much of that up when it's the joke. I was having this conversation with a comic. I was like, dude, just put your name on it.
Yeah.
Like, just find a way that you like it. Don't worry about the joke, man. And I told him too, I was like, dude, put your face. I was like, you've got this they had this one great headshot that was like a comics headshot where it wasn't too much like a professional administrative pose.
Right.
And it wasn't like 80s goofy, like, "Whoa,"
Yeah, yeah.
like it was a good blend of silly without over the top. And it was like and so like I kind of mocked up like a black and white of that picture they took. And I threw it on like a black shirt and I was like, this would look cool. I was
Yeah.
like, kind of like those old, those old like NWA, like Ice Cube shirts
Right.
where it's just him on the front,
Yeah.
no letters. And I was like, you could do something like that. So it'd be kind of a play on that old school hip hop shirt,
Right.
but you're a silly comic, which makes it kind of funny.
That's one of the aesthetics that I want to go for. Is like I want it to be like if a rapper was doing comedy.
Yeah, because a lot of the old school like raps merch and stuff, it was good.
Yeah.
They
it's
knew what
great.
they were doing. They knew how to appeal to that audience really well.
Yeah. Do you know any of like the old like pen and pixel art covers?
What does that look like?
So pen and pixel.
Like, can I just look pen and pixel up?
Yeah.
go
If you
ahead,
look
though,
up pen and pixel on Google Images,
Uh-huh.
all their album covers will come. It's like the old Master P, Cash Money,
Oh, okay.
like those album covers, like the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s. I want to do.
Oh yes, I do know that style.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Did you ever see the there's two dudes from here who did that. It was Mr. Pookie and Mr.
Oh yeah, I
Lucci,
love
those
Mr.
dudes.
Pookie,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, I'm a Dallas dude. I love.
Okay,
Mr.
so you know
Pookie.
about that. Yeah. But that's what I mean. That aesthetic.
I want to do like a shirt with like where it looks like an album cover where it's like that style with me on it.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I also for the future,
Especially since you already like wearing like the jewelry and the chains and stuff. Like that good match.
Yeah. Well, like I come from that time.
Yeah.
Like, and I really appreciate all of that. But yeah, also to like my future wife, if you're watching, the wedding photos will be in that style of pen and pixel.
Dude, go for it, man. I think that's what like when we were talking about the merch when I was talking that comic that I think they were so worried about if I make the wrong merch it's ruined. It's like just do a short run of like 50, 60 koozies. Try it out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sell, you didn't lose too much money. And if it does, then like and also like you can make a new run of a new thing every time. It doesn't matter. Like no one's watching your merch going, oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen them do that one before. It's all at y'all's level, it's all a new crowd every time.
Yeah, exactly. That's one good thing.
Yeah. So I think you can experiment with it and have some fun.
Yeah. And I will say too, I don't have a joke merch thing. I was just defending it for other people.
No, I mean, I 100% understand why they do it.
Yeah.
I just think it's lame. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
what's funny is I do have the only merch I have 2 stickers, and they're both things you mentioned. One is my name, and one is my face.
Right. I think that's what people like.
Yeah.
The
one that's my name is like my signature and how I write it.
Yeah.
And the one that's my face is like a Photoshop thing I did where like it's my glasses stacked 3 times on top of each other.
Yeah. That's your it's like on your Instagram
profile picture. Yeah.
Here's what I think of when I think of the joke merch.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's a month later. I bought a T-shirt from you. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing it out, and it's got the punchline to whatever the joke is. Right.
Right.
And someone's like, the balloon floated away. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, so we saw this comic. I can't remember their name. It was down at that comedy club in Dallas.
Yeah.
The one. It's the one in Dallas, and they're like, "Oh, were they funny?" Yeah. So they had this thing about a balloon, right? And then they start trying to tell your joke. It doesn't hit.
It doesn't work
because it's not your delivery. It's not your thing. You're not a couple drinks deep, relaxed, ready to hear a joke.
Yeah.
There was no 20-minute build up through the set.
What about
so
this?
I think people are just like, cool merch, man. Like cool shirt
what
or
if
whatever.
my shirt is the punchline across the back, and then underneath a QR code with a video of me doing the joke?
Maybe. Did you make this already?
No.
Okay.
When you said it, I just thought of it.
I was like, I'm about to shit all over this, and he's like, I ordered 400 shirts. No. Well, here's what I would ask: is have you found yourself doing that with other things? Have you done that personally? How often are you hitting a QR code that you see randomly to watch or listen or whatever?
Right.
I don't know.
And I'm going to tell you, as someone that loves putting my QR code on things, that hurts my feelings because I never scan any QR code.
You don't do it, right?
No, but I have them on everything that I put out.
I don't think it's bad to have the QR code. I think when it comes to like a shirt, I know like people like to do the like a business card or something.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable because that's something you can throw in your pocket later. Like if you're leaving a show, it's not like this thing you have to take with you. So if you're leaving a comedy show and you're going to a bar and you've got like a little business card with a QR code to your Instagram or something later, I think that's fine. That's clever. That's reasonable. Someone's going to put that in their pocket, find it a couple days later and go, oh yeah, I need to follow that person or I need to watch that thing. But on a T-shirt, right? It's like if you and me are out, I don't know, I'm at the bar wearing that shirt.
Yeah.
Is anybody scanning that code? I just don't know if that's hitting like that, but maybe.
There's probably a couple drunk people like, what's
diehards.
What's that QR code?
And I mean, if you get one, I guess it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think what you're talking about, just making something that is visually fun and interesting, would probably gain more attention, right?
I think it's all about being a full, like, well-rounded artist as opposed to just being rigid in one thing.
Well, let's say you made that hip-hop style shirt you're talking about, right? The pen and pixel. Like, the way I see that going down is, you and me don't know each other. I see you wearing this shirt at a bar, and it looks like one of the old rap things that I'm like,
right.
Dude, who is that? Is that like a rapper or somebody I've never seen? Like, I know that style, but who is that? And you're like, oh, no, it's a comic. And I'm like, a comic? You're like, yeah, I know we saw this guy, CAIN.
Yeah.
He was down at one of the, like, I think they'll connect with you more. And I don't think the QR code, I don't think the joke thing, I don't think that's hitting as a marketing tool.
Right.
I don't think that's successfully marketing you to strangers. Strangers go look at it and go, huh.
Yeah.
But I think if two strangers are having a conversation about you because of your merch, that person's now going to be like, who is it? I'm going to find it. Like, they might actually come check out a show because your merch got these two to kind of make a connection with each other. You know, now they're bonding over whatever that is. So, you know, if you're casting this wide net, that's fun. But what's really going to happen is someone who's into the stuff you're into, right, is going to buy that merch.
Right.
And then someone who's into that stuff sees them wearing that. Now they're curious about it. So your net's more narrow, but I think the people you're going after end up being so much more in line with what you're doing. That
what you want as your audience.
Yeah. I think it's not as many, but it's higher quality people that are checking it out in terms of they might actually follow you on social. They might come to a show.
Yeah.
You know, and
they're like, oh, this guy fits the aesthetic of things I already like.
Yeah, that's something I'm into.
This is
Let
relatable.
me check it out.
You know,
or just if it's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I think worrying like, will everyone like this? It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't care if everyone likes
make what you really like, and somebody's going to go towards it.
Yeah.
You know,
no, you got to be yourself.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. If it's that cool, like think of some of the coolest things you know about.
Yeah.
And how did you find out about them? It was never.
No, I was looking for them.
Yeah, but you like pick any artist, you know, like a rapper or anything that you love, and think how you were probably first exposed to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably saw it somehow and thought, what is that?
Right, yeah.
Or a friend or somebody was like, check this out. It wasn't, you know, I wonder what this random link is or this random QR code, right? There was something intriguing that said like, whoa, what is that? Or somebody was like, dude, you got to look at this.
Something caught my attention
to
made me investigate further.
Yeah, so it's like, have fun with it, man. Do whatever you think is kind of wild and cool and fun, you know? But yeah, I mean, I hate it because I know the comics are just trying to make a buck, you know?
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like most clubs aren't paying top dollar. You're trying to make another 100 off the merch, 200, whatever you can. But, you know, so keep doing it. Like, keep doing it, make your money. But it's like, throw some cool stuff in there too, you know?
Yeah. And I think the stuff that you do make that's cool now, you know, later on, if anyone still has that, whenever things, you know, pop off for you, you know, it's like, oh man, cool. You have one of my original stickers.
Rare. Yeah. That stuff's fun, man. I think that's the other fun part. You know, I love Jack White, and he throws out a lot of that type of stuff.
One thing I really love about Jack White is his third man pressings. Yeah, that's super cool.
Dude, can I show you? I'm gonna take these off.
I've been staring at these since I walked in. So.
I even have it. I even have some hidden over here because I didn't have room.
Oh, that's so cool.
Have you seen these?
No, which ones are these?
I don't know. I haven't even opened that one yet.
Oh wow.
So I was part of his. We're gonna keep it closed though. Don't open it.
Okay.
So I was part of his. He calls it the Vault.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like a monthly membership, and I'm pretty sure all it is. I've opened some of them, and I haven't opened some of them because I thought, you know, it's going to be cool. Maybe like 10 years, crack them open.
Yeah.
Just see. I don't know. Just see. But they just send you a random box. Like I want to say maybe it's once every 2 months or maybe quarterly or something. It's not. I don't think it's every month, but it was a pretty reasonable price. I think it was like $40 a month or something.
Yeah.
And then you would just get a random package like this, right? And like, you know, they pay attention to detail. It's like even the box that doesn't matter has cool little third man logos and things on it, right? But you'd open it up, and I think it's just the overstock, like cool albums that they had extra of. But then there was also like photocopies of like set list from the stages. There were
that's cool.
tour pictures that didn't make it into anything,
you
know, in the long term. And it was just cool to like open that box and sift through this like cool, rare stuff, you know, and they sent it out to whoever was signed up. So I'm sure a lot of them were copies, but it's still like you can't just go pick it up anywhere. Yeah. And I just thought that premise of just, you know, what would a fan really enjoy?
I used to be part of a very attention to detail record of the month club. It just got too expensive.
What were their records? What style?
So they had, I think, 3 or 4.
Do you remember was it a label?
Yeah. Okay. The pressing company was called Vinyl Me Please, VMP.
Yeah.
And I think it was the same price, like $40 a month. But where I would get caught up is I would add extra records like every month to my box.
Oh, yeah. It gets pricey.
Yeah. So I think they have 3 or 4 different options. I think they have a country option, a hip hop, just like a general popularity one, and then I forget what the other one is. But I was like subscribed to the hip hop one, and like every month it'd be like a pressing of like an old record that I really loved, and like all of them come in these like super detailed sleeves, high quality pressings, like splatter colored, with like, sheets on the inside with like extra details of the album.
Dude, I'm going to show you this guy who, since I didn't know you liked vinyl and your blend of vinyl and art, but
so that's actually funny. So my production company that I did all my shows through, you see, it's called 2-6 Mafia, and how I got to that logo was I bought a bunch of old 3-6 Mafia records, and I just like traced it and like rearranged it to turn it into a 2 instead of a 3.
Yeah. I produced a vinyl record and like printed it up for this band. We did this kind of one-off. It was never released digitally. It's only on vinyl, and we did it that way, like exclusively just for fun.
Yeah.
But I printed it through this place called Gotta Groove Records, who is just a big vinyl pressing plant, and they've been doing it forever. And everyone's like, they're top tier, and they had like great customer service, and they were just cool. Like you could tell they were like people who loved vinyl. And then one of the things they did is, I think I'm saying it right, but it's Wax Mage, like WAXMAGE, right? So they had an option on there where you could throw in like 10, 15, 20 super rare, ultra random vinyls.
Yeah, that's cool.
So if you printed up like 1,000, you could throw in, like 10 cool ones. And when I say cool ones, this guy's like crazy artistic the way he does some of these vinyls.
Oh, that's cool.
Crazy stuff. And so like super attention to detail. Not like the average splatter is really cool, but like I'm trying to find some of the crazier ones he's done, because he's got, at some point you start like running out of ideas, and then he just goes, no, I think I can do something else. And so I just loved the idea of, I mean, look at some of these weird swirls and stuff he does.
Oh, that's really cool. I got to show you, there's a company, I forget their name, but I found them just on Instagram, like on my For You page or something. This was years ago. They were doing a pressing of, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard?
Yeah.
So they were doing a pressing of like one of their live shows in London. And it was this crazy record that was like, I think it was about that thick, but it was filled with glow-in-the-dark sand.
Oh, nice.
And
do you have it?
Yeah, I have it at the house.
Does it like, do you have to level out the sand before you put it on the player? Like, does it play weird if you because it's weighted differently, right?
Right.
That's a weird record.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know.
You have to see like if you put all the sand on one side, it spins funny.
I think
or
I
something.
only played it once, and then when I got it, it had like a special like paper with instructions of like you have to reset the tracking force on your needle, and you have to do because it's thicker than like regular records. Yeah. But it was just cool to have.
Man, I wish I had some of the cool ones. So the record we did, here, I'll show you. It's nothing crazy, but I took a ton of inspiration from Jack White's stuff when we did it. So if you flip it over, these guys, it's a band called Brave Little How, and I just like their music. They're a local band.
Yeah.
But like you can pull it out and flip it open. There's a big gatefold where you can see kind of where we were at. So that little cabin is over off White Rock Lake. It's called Big Thicket.
Cool.
One of the little cabins you just rent out?
Yeah.
So they wanted to record like a song or two on the podcast. They were like, let me come in here, play a couple of things. And I was like, why don't we make like an event where we can have like 30, 40, 50 friends that we know come check it out.
Yeah.
And you can take a copy, by the way. We already made our money back on them, so it's all good. But they...
You saying I can have this one?
Yeah, you can have that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know you were into vinyl, so go ahead and take one. But they didn't really know what I was up to, but I was like, let's do a little show. We'll record the whole thing. And they were looking for kind of like an intimate setting. So I was like, rather than mic everything up perfectly and make it like a studio album, let's set all these ambient mics around, record it the way you would hear it, like if they were just playing in their living room to some people in their living room. Kind of set it up that way. Real intimate. There's no editing. The guy Nathan, who I worked with, who is an audio engineer, he was like, he never outright said it, but I'm very certain he was extremely frustrated with me because the first kind of rough mix he sent over, I was like, let's just get the levels up where it's listenable.
Yeah.
Let's not do a whole lot, And he sent it to me, and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was hoping for. It sounds like you're sitting in this cabin with them. And then, like a week or two later, he sent me like this beautiful mix. Like he had done all this hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great, like it was like high-end,
clean, polished.
Mix.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's great, but I don't want it. Like it's and I know he hated me for that. And I was like, I mean, look, objectively, it's a better mix.
Yeah.
It's great, but this is what I want. I want you to feel like you're sitting there,
Yeah.
And so we did little things too. Like there's no track. You can't select the songs on them.
Oh, there's no like
there's no separate grooves.
Yeah.
I had it run all through. Because the idea is like you're only going to put this record on when you got
play
time to
it.
listen to the whole go through the whole experience, because it's a double vinyl. And I want you to feel like maybe you only listen to this once every 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to like, there's instructions in there of like, get a drink, smoke your weed, whatever you're doing, like put on certain style lights, like dim everything down, and like chill out, just enjoy some music. And so all the little chatter, like between songs, you hear the people in the audience moving around and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that was all kind of like, all of Jack White's records have kind of cool things like that going on, and I was like, he's got one where it purposely skips at the end. Have you seen that? I'll send you a link or something later, but when the song ends, it ends with like a guitar part that's like, wow, wow. And you're thinking, is this song ever going to end? But they put like a purposeful skip. So it's just going to play that note for eternity until you flip the record.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And there were these he put like a little holographic like angels. So as the record's spinning, if you look at it just right, they kind of look a little 3D, like they're twirling.
Oh, I've seen records like
stuff
that.
like
That's
that.
really
so
cool. Yeah.
And so, I love people that go, I don't care if it costs more. It's cool.
Yeah.
Let's try to do something cool, But it's just so hard to do.
It's world building.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love all of that.
Mm-hmm. You could have a lot of fun in the comedy world with that, because the comics, like, I don't know. I think music and art goes hand in hand for a long time.
Yeah.
Comedy and art, there's only a few people that really mix that.
Yeah.
Like the average comic isn't thinking that way.
No.
So you could have a lot of fun with it.
But they're right here next to each other.
Oh, for sure.
They're both, it's timing, it's cadence, it's the same thing. They're very close.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Whenever I do get to the point where I'm putting out specials, I do want to press them on vinyl.
Yeah.
Because I miss when comics did that.
Yeah. What do you think? I've been kicking around the idea. I don't know if comics would get into it at all, because I like comedy albums. And I think right now the world we're in with YouTube specials and all that, that's phenomenal too.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's something fun about listening to a comedy album. But it's real expensive.
Yeah.
To print up a vinyl, right? So an individual comic's probably not going to drop, $3,000-$4,000 on their vinyl. But I was thinking, I wonder if comics would put like a bit or like a section,
like on a 7-inch single or something.
No, not even that. Like do like a regular full vinyl, but start doing maybe like compilation comedy albums.
That'd be cool.
Where like, okay, if you all pitch in, a couple $100, and we can put 15, 20 people on here, and maybe we're doing,
like a Dallas mixtape.
Yeah, like 5 to 6, 7 minutes, something like that. Then you get a little merch to sell at your shows, and everybody's also helping to promote everyone.
Yeah.
So you can, if you are all doing shows that weekend in different areas, you're still getting a little promotion if somebody buys a vinyl.
I would love that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really just getting them to pay money. Like, okay, trust me, throw in this money, we'll print this up.
There's a bunch of comics that I think, if they see the benefit of it for them, they're willing to put the money into, because all of us are investing in ourselves anyways.
Yeah. And then it's also just, it's different than music. Like you're going to burn whatever that 5 or 6 minutes is potentially, whether or not you're comfortable still performing it after it's on something that's recorded.
Well, and also just like, and I'm saying this as like me as a consumer, if I go to a comedy show, especially a local one, and I see the dude's merch is a record, I'm buying that.
That's what I'm thinking. And again, if it was labeled as like, whatever name you want to say, like, Dallas locals or something to show that there's more than just this person. And I think people want to get involved with the comedy community, but they don't know how.
Yeah.
Like you and me are into it, right? You're performing, but like I like going to shows because I like doing this podcast. But like my friends and stuff, I don't think they know how to enter into that community. Like I don't think they realize you could be that involved. Like you could see multiple comics and kind of get to know them a little bit.
Not
on this
only
level.
that, you don't even know. If you're not someone that's really into it, you wouldn't even know where to go for a show, where to look to see upcoming shows. Like
when I tell people the clubs we have, just in like the Dallas zip codes here, just the like not even jumping far across Dallas. When I'm just like, oh well, right here you could go to Hyenas Dallas Comedy Club. There's even 4-day weekend down off Greenville Avenue has its own version of what they're
they
more
do
like
a lot of improv.
Yeah. It's like, but there's things to do. There's places to go, and that's not even including the little small shows that are put up at other places.
Right.
And then I'm like, they'll be like, oh well, I live in Plano. I'm like, funny, you should mention that.
Yeah.
These guys Cowabunga are doing this thing at the Fillmore, and they're like, oh really? Like, there's all these entry points, but it's just really hard if you're not already in it to kind of figure out where to start. And that's why I was thinking maybe maybe a compilation like that, something that's physical and kind of cool, and it's got a lot of people on it.
Right.
And clearly, like on the inside, it'll have, there should be interesting things like whether it's y'all's stage pics or whatever, maybe not headshots, but like let's find some cool artistic photos that you took
stage,
on one of your
in action.
Yeah, yeah.
I think also like you can cut some deals with like some local record shops to like have a box of them in their shop.
They were, when I put this out, like I said, we didn't release this digitally. The idea was, because it sounds very different than what their regular studio albums sound like, because it's kind of stripped down and they kind of do different versions. So the idea was like, this is for your people that are already fans. This isn't for like the first listen. But we still went and threw it in record shops for people who didn't want to pay shipping and have it mailed out. They were surprisingly supportive. I would just walk in with like a box of 10 records, and I was like, hey, we did this thing like Josie Records over in Carrollton.
Love them.
Yeah, they were awesome, man. Like I went in there on like a Saturday, and I was just like, hey, we did this. What's the process if we want to get it on a shelf? He's like, oh, leave me the box. He's like, I'll email you Tuesday, tell you like how many we want and what we'll buy them for.
Yeah.
And then they just straight up like they like PayPal'd me or something. And they're like, what do you want to wholesale them at? And I was like, I don't know, what, like $15? Y'all sell them for like 20 or 30 or something. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, sounds good. And they just like cut a check.
Cool.
They were super cool about it. And
Josie's, if I'm not mistaken, they have the biggest record collection like in America.
Oh wow, I believe it. Do you know how they got some of that record collection? Do you remember Bill's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you were Dallas, so I figured you probably know about.
They bought all of Bill's.
Yeah, so they already had a huge thing.
I think they have like 1 million in their in their back stock.
They're the only place that is like a huge record store that still feels like a record shop.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like a corporate thing, even though it's a massive place.
I used to every Sunday. I would go to LDU Coffee. I would get a cold brew, and then I would go to get a bacon, egg, and cheese, and then I'd go to Josie's, and I'd put on my AirPods, and I'd just walk around for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I would just look at records, and I had to stop because I'd end up spending like $200.
Dude, it's hard, man. It's hard. But that right there, that experience, what you're talking about, that's what we got to try to tap back into with music and comedy. And so Josie's a great example of how like they're already doing that, obviously. But a lot of those records, it was like, this looks cool. Like, what is this? And then we've got a player. Let's throw it on. Let's listen to it for a minute. See what it's like.
It's also just a thing of like preserving physical media.
Yes,
like that's a thing I'm very much about. I don't get me wrong. I love the streamers. They're very convenient. But it's that's what it is. It's convenience.
Well, and as soon as Spotify decides, hey, we don't want to be in this business anymore, we're shutting the servers down. Well,
then what?
Your stuff's gone.
And not only that, it's just like artists at any time can decide, I'm going to take this album down, or you know what, I'm going to change the mix of this song. Well, I like the old mix.
Okay, I just went through this, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of the first CD I ever got, right? And or actually it was the first CD I bought on my own where I was like, oh. And it was the Boys to Men Motown Philly CD.
That's great. Yeah. Love Boys.
And I was like, dude, I haven't heard this in forever. And I was like, I had some songs in my head, and I was like, so get off work, and I go to Spotify, and it's like you can't find just that. It's got to be the new extended version or the special edition or the remastered whatever. And it's like
2012.
Just give me. I think it was Cooley High Harmony was maybe the name of the album, or I can't remember if it was actually Motown Philly or Cooley High Harmony, but whatever. It had that hit on it, and I was like, you're like, okay, what year is this? Is this the original one? It's like, what is this 30 other bullshit things? Just give me the album, and now I'm thinking of like, I wish I would have kept that physical version that I had.
Right.
That I thought I'll never need this. My CD booklets were stacked up. It was just clutter in the cases, and I was like, and now I'm like, should have kept every single one of those.
There's a Funkadelics album, Maggot Brain. I think it came out 72 or 73, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you go on Spotify, you can't get like the original version of it. The original like 7-6 songs are there, but then it's followed by like the extended version. Like I would think they added like 3 or 4 songs extra, which like they're fine, but it's not the original.
Yeah.
Like Maggot Brain.
Have you heard of this comic? I think he's from San Francisco, named Chris Fleming. I don't know how popular he is, but he's in my feed and it's cracking me up all the time. But he looks like a San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, like unique guy. He's like super skinny white dude, long curly hair, big glasses, But he'll wear like skin tight, sparkly pants and like a fluffy looking pirate shirt or something.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got that like northeastern thing happening. But he was talking about Spotify, and he's like, I'll send you the whole thing, but he's ripping on him about like how proud they are of like remastering something and re-releasing it. And he's like, oh, thank God we put a little more EQ on that hi-hat.
Yeah.
How could I ever listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water without that? Or something, like whatever it was,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's so dead on of like, all you had to do was upload the music.
Yeah.
We didn't have to touch it. It was already great.
Well, also Spotify compresses the shit out of your music.
Yeah. That's why I wish I kept the CDs.
Yeah.
When you listen to a CD, that might be the best mix of like the highest quality audio you can get while it's still portable.
Yeah. And they don't pay their artists, but that's a separate story.
Well, I mean, what do you think you got to do to get Spotify to pay people?
They don't care.
I know they don't care, but at some point, somebody in that company's got to go, we're destroying the thing that makes us money.
No, because they're not. You know why? Because the general consumer doesn't care. The consumer is like, I'm paying $10 a month. I'm getting what I want. I don't give a fuck if this millionaire makes an extra $1 off this song.
True. Yeah.
I can't fully say the problem with us. It's just that if we don't do anything about it, the company never will, because they're already making their money.
I think what has to happen at this point is you got to get, a multi-millionaire who's ready to put it all on the line. Like the early days when like Elon was starting Tesla. I know he's polarizing now, but like I know people have their opinions. Okay, just objectively, I want to talk about how when he was starting Tesla, it's like there were times where he was days away from bankruptcy and the company's done, and he somehow pulled through.
When he bought Tesla,
just because he wanted it. Yeah. But I mean, when
he was doing the revamp of it, rebranding to Elon's company.
Yeah, because originally it was off like the Lotus.
The
design,
Lotus Elise,
right? And that was not working.
The original Tesla was the Lotus Elise. They ordered a bunch of shells basically from Lotus and then converted them into electric, and that was the original Tesla Roadster.
Yeah, and so I watched him in an interview where he was like, we thought that'd be a great idea, but then you realize like once you redesign a little, it's like, okay, the car needs air conditioning, and that runs off the belt, that runs off the motor. It's like, okay, well, we got to redesign that. Okay, and now it needs, these other things. And so it's like you ended up redesigning the whole car. You should have just built it. So when they went that route, money got tight,
right?
And it almost went under, and then they were able to just pull it through.
It's expensive to develop a car.
Yeah, and it's because at that time, especially, like he really cared about that and believed in that, and was like, it's got to be done, right? So I think you need someone with that same kind of intensity to come into music and go, I'm starting the new Spotify,
right? And
we don't give a fuck about making money.
Tidal tried to, but they didn't have the money to do it.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to take a billionaire. It's going to take somebody, because he had that at that time. He had that PayPal money, right? Yeah, he'd already made his money off another thing, so he could get crazy, right? And so you need somebody who can go, I don't care. You need like the way Mark Cuban came at the Mavs. Yeah, you were here. You remember those days when he was just going wild in the stands, throwing money at stuff, and everybody got excited again. If you can get a crazy person with a lot of money to go, I'm going to make the new Spotify, and you know what? It's going to pay out 70% to artists. Right. It's just something insane. And, like, we're going to do that. You know what? We're going to just sell a couple ads. All the money goes to the artist. We just need enough to keep the servers on. I made all my money off this other stuff. I don't care. Yeah. I mean...
And at that point,
somebody's got to care enough about the music to go, I'm willing to take a smaller cut.
Yeah. Also that, but also... the major labels are the ones working with these companies, so it'd have to be beneficial to them as well for them to want to leave, their buddies at Spotify because they're making money off of it too.
Well, if you're a major label though, and now your artist can get paid those royalties, now it's just a contract that you're signing with your artist, right? Yeah. And I'm like one of those. I mean, like, you ever? I don't know how broad your music is, but you ever heard of like NoFX, like the punk rock band? Anyway,
I don't think I've heard
it's
of them.
this punk rock band I really, really love. They're one of the most famous kind of like second or third wave punk rock things. They were doing it from like the 80s up until they just said they were done like last year. But anyhow, they had this great song called Dinosaurs Will Die. And that's what it was about, was the music industry doing like 5 or 6 record deals and how all that's bullshit. And he started his own record label. His name was Fat Mike, and he started Fat Records. Yeah. And he would do like one record deals. Like, hey, I'll give you, $250,000. Let's print the record, see how it goes, and then we'll reevaluate. Like if we want to do another one later.
Yeah.
And he, they didn't have the big connections, but he made this huge record label that's still cooking and still has bands on it.
Yeah.
Because he cared.
It takes that passion and love for it to make something substantial.
So if that big label doesn't want to get involved, it's like, that's fine. I bet there's a ton of independent labels with killer artists that would all jump on board. I mean, because your major labels, who are we going to miss out on? Who's like the artist you'd be afraid of losing right now from that major label if they didn't go to this new streaming platform?
Oh, me personally?
Yeah. Who do you think you'd lose?
I don't care. I don't listen to anyone that's like too huge.
Let's just talk about like the biggest name right now in music, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose him.
No, he's already on his own label.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's the biggest thing in popular music right now, right? Yeah. And he would be like, hell yeah, let's go to that new site. Yeah. Let's go to that new one. Yeah. I'm off Spotify. So it's like, I think who we would lose would not matter. And then if you talk about your mega famous, mega popular, like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
She's going to do whatever she wants to do, right?
Yeah, I
think it'd be okay.
Whenever artists get that big, it always is crazy to me that they choose to stay on labels.
Yeah. She could just do her.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but, going back to like the punk rock world, it's like the bands that were the most successful, commercially at least, like they made money doing the and stayed to their roots, but they somehow made money, they started labels.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine Taylor Swift starting a label with that money. And it's like, I'm probably not going to love any of the music, but she could go handpick smaller artists that she thought were incredible and boost them up if she wanted to. I don't know if she's into that.
I feel like that should be the goal for most artists in general. Is like once you get to a certain point, is helping everyone else out.
Yeah, because that's what the older version, like across all genres, that's kind of what they did.
Yeah,
But so I think they're out there. I just don't think they know they could take on Spotify right now.
Yeah,
but I think they could.
Well, it's like with anything. If you get enough people to agree with it, they can take it on.
It is shocking that Tidal couldn't take off because it had like Jack White, Neil Young, Jay-Z, Beyonce. I wonder how they messed that up because that's all the money you need right there.
I'm not sure. I don't know why people didn't go over. And I can say that as someone that didn't go over.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. I'm sitting here saying I wish I had it, and there it was. But
even at that, I think streaming was too new. At that point, I was still against streaming.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just hit the wrong time.
Yeah.
The main thing that Spotify has right now is they really crushed it with the interface, the platform.
Yeah.
They nailed that
to navigate.
Because the other one is, have you heard of Bandcamp?
Mm-hmm.
Bandcamp is more of an ethical site.
Yeah.
They do like, I think it's something like, I don't know if it's every Friday or once a month, but they'll like all the profits will go to the artist or something, And, but their app, their interface is just not there.
No, it's trash.
It's just not good.
Yeah.
You can't like put it on in your car and go. It's harder to thumb through,
right.
So it's like,
just
bring somebody in who can fix that, and Bandcamp could take over,
Yeah, all the like independents go into Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's music's in a real interesting spot. I'm not negative about it. It's all going to work out. It's just a rare time right now, It's like I'm sure when it all went to cassettes, people were like, "It's done,"
Yeah. No, there's always a fear of change.
Yeah,
but it does definitely the takeover, not just in music, in all forms of media. Just the takeover of streaming is a little daunting. And I remember when like streaming first came out, I remember saying like, we're just going back to like buying channels.
Yes.
Because it was like, like the idea of Netflix when people were first getting it was like, I can get rid of my cable. And it's going to cost me $7 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, you get Netflix, Hulu, Disney, HBO. Now you're back to paying your same cable bill. And nothing you want to watch is available on any of them.
No, and they're all sneaky about it. Like Amazon, for instance, they they'll flood social media with these clips of things. Then they make they try to make it look like you just stumbled upon a random clip.
Yeah.
But clearly, like they're probably working through people who have like accounts set up to drop this. If they're remember this scene from whatever and where it looks like it's just some person. It's like, I know y'all's games because every time you're like, oh, I forgot about the movie. Let's check it out. It's like you can rent or buy.
Yeah.
It's not available. It's like,
Oh,
how come every single time that clip's out there, it's never available on any of the platforms?
Yeah.
It's only rent or buy.
I've never thought that's a good.
So they're sneaky.
Yeah.
Like I would do that.
That's
right?
a good marketing thing to be like, let's drop this clip, let it go viral.
Yeah.
Everyone loves this movie.
We'll have 3,000 accounts, like it and share it.
That's smart.
Or it's like, did you know about this scene from this movie and what the actor did to get ready for this? And you're like, oh, I forgot about the movie. Check it out.
Go watch it. Yeah,
nah, rent it $5. Nah, man, I'm good. Because you're already paying for the streaming.
Yeah,
and like Amazon's the worst offender right now. You're paying for Prime Video, and now they're like, well, if you don't want commercials.
Yeah.
It's like, but that was the whole thing.
Also, they've always been bad about like having everything, but you have to pay for some of it.
Yeah.
I had to lock my Amazon Prime video because my parents use it and my sister. And I was like, they're just renting stuff. My card is attached to it. Yeah. So I put a code on it and like they'll call me like, what's the code? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And it's the same thing too. Like there is going to be something cool about your DVDs, your VHS, those classics, because at some point this version of what we're doing is going to go away. You ever seen that meme about like the 90s, like the Gen Xers? Mm-hmm. They're like, the reason we're so pissed is like we sold our records to buy cassettes, and then we sold our cassettes to buy CDs, and we got rid of our CDs to buy streaming. It's like we just want our fucking music, and they've like had to change formats the most out of everyone.
You know what's my favorite format that no one ever mentions? Mini disc.
Mini disc. Literally just the little disc?
No. It was a Sony invention. It was meant to replace the CD.
Oh.
Because when the CD originally came out, it didn't have the technology to write text onto the disc. So when you would put a CD in, it wouldn't tell you the name of the song.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
So Sony came out with mini disc where they looked like little floppy disk, but they were just like square plastic things with a small disc on the inside. And it only lasted like 4 years.
Whoa.
But they had the ability to like do the text. And then CDs came out with that technology and mini disc disappeared.
So do you have some of those? Or
I have so many.
What are you playing it through? Did you have like your own? Because that was at the same time when you would have your like big stereo in your room that had the CD changer.
So I have a big stereo in my room.
Yeah. Did it have a mini disc player in it?
I have a mini disc player. Yeah, I have a whole hi-fi setup. It's all separate components, and one of them is a mini disc player.
So at that time, was it more expensive than a CD? Or is it about the same?
I don't know if they were more expensive or not. They sound amazing, though.
Is it like the size of like an old school floppy disk?
It's smaller.
Smaller,
yeah.
Okay.
It's probably like a 3x3.
But they sound good?
They sound great. Yeah. And my mini disc has the ability to burn new mini disc. So I've been putting modern albums on to mini disc and then making like custom casings where like if this album would have came out in the 90s on mini disc, it would look like this.
How do you burn one on there? What do you mean? Like because first of all, can you're not buying blank ones, are you?
Yeah.
You can get a blank mini disc still?
On eBay.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm buying like packs
So you're
of
making
blanks.
your own collection.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Whoa. Talk about super like, dude, you're a nerd about that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. I love like music.
How much music will one hold? About the same as a CD?
It depends. Some of them hold like only 100 minutes. Some of them hold like 120.
Whoa.
It depends which ones you get.
That might be a bridge back, because it's smaller than a CD. You can make it a little. Did they have portable mini disc players? Like, could you jog with it?
Yeah, so they had a Walkman that was mini disc.
Oh,
and that's
rad.
how I found out about it because in high school, my parents took my phone away one time, and the only thing I really cared about was like being able to like play music while I was walking through the halls of high school. Mm-hmm. And I was going through like the cabinets downstairs in the living room, and there was a Walkman mini disc there. And so I just started like burning on my own, and that's how I would listen to music in high school.
Would it skip like a CD would?
No, because
it's like a drive, right?
You never touch the CD.
Oh, that's bad.
That's why they sound so good.
It is a little better then,
yeah.
Because, dude, I remember like, you'd want to go for a jog, and you'd have like the big CD thing, and you had to get like when Anti-Skip came out.
Yeah,
that was like the game changer.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was like a big deal.
I remember growing up having a CD player, and I had an Incredible Hulk case.
Yeah,
and I would carry my CDs.
For the youngsters who don't know, CDs, if you bumped them, would stop. Like it'd skip. It stopped playing. And the portable CD players that you had, which was like your phone, right, playing your music. What would it do? It would basically play ahead like 10 seconds and memorize it. So if you had a couple little bumps, it wouldn't matter. But if you had like a big bump, it was like, okay, we're still going to skip.
Also, if your disc would get scratched up, it would always mess up, and which is crazy because it's a laser reading. Why would it skip?
Talking about Jack White, I remember him talking about even CDs and just like any kind of computerized music. He's big on vinyl, and that's his thing, right?
Analog.
Yeah, because what he was saying is that needle. You ever seen like that microscopic picture of the needle in the record groove?
Yeah,
it looks so cool, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying, it's 100% continuous, right?
Yeah.
The needle's never not dragging on the record. Whereas no matter how good you can get digital music, like when it's that laser, it's still like a off-on kind of thing. It's like, it's just extremely fast. He's like, but you're always missing just a tiny bit of information, even though you're not really perceiving it. Like you'll never notice. In his mind, he's like, but you do feel it. He's like, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And so I always think about that. But I do think that like CD or I guess now mini disc is like the ultimate compromise of I don't have time to just sit here and I can't put a record player in my car.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
They used to make them.
It's cool. I've seen it, but like, that needle's going to pop.
Yeah,
like,
they were for like 7-inch singles.
Yeah.
It was like in the 60s.
But see, that goes back to like, they were making cool shit back then just because. Let's just see. Let's put a crazy record player in a car,
From what I hear, they had crazy tracking force to like, so they wouldn't like skip.
The needle, you mean?
Yeah.
It's like just pressing down. So
it
it's
would
wearing
just
out your
ruin
record.
the records, yeah. So,
but they're like, well, that's fine. We'll sell them another record.
Yeah.
Records aren't going anywhere.
I've been looking for one, like from the 60s, like on eBay, but every time they pop up, they're like in the thousands.
Yeah, because you're a big car guy too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge car guy.
Yeah, that era of car design is wild, man. You had people doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. I have a 64 Impala.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
That's
it's in
cool.
pieces. My dad gave it to me years ago.
Yeah.
And
so that's the project car.
I've never started on it. It's just been sitting in my backyard.
Yeah.
But if I do ever get it done, I am putting a record player in there.
That's pretty cool. I mean, even just for the novelty of like once you're parked,
Yeah.
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be badass.
I have a whole bunch of 7-inch singles and like pop one in.
Yeah. That would be pretty fun, dude. Yeah, just
yeah.
post up outside, park it on the curb at DCC and play some music.
That'd be so cool.
Wouldn't that be rad?
Yeah. My project car right now, I have a little, it's a 2002 5 Series BMW station wagon.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was talking to you about the wagons a couple months ago.
I'm actually in it tonight.
Dude, oh, you brought it here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to look at it.
Yeah,
I got to
for
look at it
sure.
when we leave. What year is it?
2002.
2002, okay. I don't know much about that style of car, like for those years, but I had like a 2005 Ford F-150, right? And thinking back, I feel like that was the perfect mix of analog and technology.
Yeah.
Like I think that was a really great generation for cars because you still had all this really tactile, like you didn't have to look to change things, but the cars were running a lot better and weren't breaking down yet.
Because I like doing my own things in the cars too, as far as like customizing and stuff. The best era of cars to like feel modern while still like looking old and cool is like that early 2000, like up to 2006.
Yeah.
Like my 2002 BMW, like when you see it after this, it looks like it came that way, but it's all modern. It has CarPlay, it has a backup camera, it has USBs in the center console. But like it looks that way because I did it all that way.
Because that's a big part of car design that's missing is the dash.
Right.
When you just throw these big flat screens on everything,
I hate it so much.
The dash isn't fun or cool to look at anymore. There's not that pleasing. And I heard Europe is going to go away from that.
I hope so.
What I read, I don't know how true it is. What I read is that their safety, whatever their travel safety is, like TxDOT or whatever for Europe. They have real studies now to show that it takes you this many seconds longer to go through that touch screen, so it's a safety issue.
Yeah, it's
right?
dumb. To adjust my vent control, I shouldn't have to go through a computer and move it around.
So I think they're going to mandate like certain controls now have to be knobs, buttons, whatever. And
it's just like
I'm all for it.
I hate like an electronic park brake.
Yeah, yeah. We bought a Volvo for my wife, and it's got
very
one of those
safe
where you
vehicles.
that's why we got it.
Yeah.
She wanted an SUV. We got a kid now, and she does not care about like she was basically like I don't want this to look like I'm a grandma or something. She's like I just want something that's. And I was like, well, there you go. It's reliable, it's safe, but it does have those little things where like you just push the little button for the parking brake, and it's like. I can't remember the last time I pulled the e-brake and slid, but
Yeah.
I want that option.
Yeah.
I want it just in case I'm feeling silly.
And
you
not
know,
only that, like, what if your battery dies?
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah, I like mechanical things where it released,
Yeah.
right? And but it's a great car. It's for people who don't want to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
definitely. Like whenever I get to the point where like, stuff's going well in comedy, and I'm definitely buying like a new car as like my daily driver. But that's just because like it's new, it's reliable, I know everything's going to work.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be like a lease because I'm not going to want to keep this thing.
Well, I was going to say though, but do you know everything will work? Because I don't think, I drive a Toyota Tacoma. It's a 2017, and it's been a great truck.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was just after COVID or what, but even Toyota feels like they're moving towards the errors that some of these mass-produced companies really make. Like their new release of the Tundra, they had some motor failures, had to do some recalls, things like that.
They're also ugly.
I think they look like it's like you designed a truck that looks like it was somehow designed for an idiot teenager and a grandpa at the same time. Like the back end looks like grandpa's truck, and the front end looks like, can we make it look like a transformer?
Right. I love Toyota. Toyota's a great company.
Great company. But I think with the trucks, they're letting like the North American division take over or whatever, and they're styling it like all the other brands.
Yeah. Well, it's because in America we're not allowed to have trucks made outside of the U.S.
Right.
Because of the chicken tax.
But they should still go, hey, here's how you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Let the Japanese people do
Let
it.
them have
they
some
did it so
influence.
well. I mean, the thing that gets me is the big grills, like the massive grills. And it's where, as a car guy, with modern technology, it's like, you don't need that much airflow to keep this engine cool. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, I showed my wife. I was like, you ever notice like the fake vents on cars? She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, and so now I spent like half a day when we were just out. I was like, so that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do. And now she sees it and she's like, it's so stupid. Why don't they just have like a nice, plastic design or bumper design or whatever there? Why did they need? I was like, well, people want like mean and aggressive cars,
Yeah, with none of the power.
Even my truck has a fake hood scoop on it. And it's like, this isn't forced induction for my 6-cylinder Toyota Tacoma,
That's funny.
And it's just that particular package came with like an off-road suspension thing, and that's the hood they put on it. I was like, okay, does nothing.
Yeah, looks cool.
And like my truck's holding up great, but I get worried now of new cars. It's like, how many of these brands go 200,000 miles now?
Yeah.
Without significant, maintenance.
That's the thing you got to look at, man. Because like so my regular daily driver is a Raptor. I have a 2014 Raptor.
Yeah.
So
that's the V8 still, right?
Yeah. It's the last year of the first generation. So it's a 6.2 liter, 8-cylinder. I've never been a Ford guy. I got that truck because it was a good deal, and I thought I was going to sell it.
Oh, okay.
So the whole first year that I had it, I was trying to sell it, and I couldn't get rid of it, and I really didn't treat it that well. And that truck proved itself. That is one of the best trucks I've ever had. Like, it's at the point now where I'm like, I'm never getting rid of that truck.
You know why though? It's that perfect blend of it is an advanced off-road truck.
Yeah.
But it's still made as simply as you can make it while still being capable of doing what it's like. Okay, how are we going to put the a Baja off-road suspension on here? But let's not overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Right?
That truck almost has 300,000 miles.
That's good to hear.
It's never broke down on me.
Yeah.
I've only ever done regular maintenance, changing brakes, oil. That's really about it.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, the new ones, again, like...
Yeah, they're twin turbo 6-cylinder.
It's fine. I don't even care about the sound. I don't need a loud car.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. It's just... you're just thinking like, okay, just anytime you start really forcing that air in, how long do things last, right? And then just the styling, it's like, again, we're going so over the top aggressive with the styling to be like, well, I drive a truck.
Yeah.
Big old truck.
Yeah.
And, the generation you have where it still has like some curves to it.
Yeah.
It's like, that still looks like a cool truck.
It's subtle compared to what they're putting out now.
Oh, yeah. And especially like, if you get one that doesn't have the big Raptor decals, the average person thinks F-150, that's a Ford truck.
Yeah.
You know? And then the people who know the people who see the extra clearance and they're like, oh man, that's a nice ride.
You want to hear a funny story? You know Tony Campion?
Yes.
I love him.
Yeah.
Love that man to death. One time I was giving him a ride somewhere, and we're walking out of DCC, and he sees my truck. And I go, that's my truck. And Tony knows nothing about vehicles. And he sees it has the Raptor sticker on the side of the truck. He goes, you named your truck Raptor? I said, no, Ford did.
Ford. Oh, dude, I love for a few moments he thought you like made a custom decal, like named your truck.
In his head, he was like, oh, Kane's a douchebag.
So I get in this world where I'll rip on things like that, but then you also love it.
Yeah.
You're like, God, the 8-year-old comes out and you're like, oh, that's a pretty cool graphic.
Yeah.
I can't ever do it, but it's cool, man.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that to my wife. I was like, I love trucks. I love like those off-road cars like that. I like the 4-door wagons, and I like hatchbacks.
Yeah.
Like 2-door hatchbacks.
Oh, they're great.
Like if I could have a ridiculous looking old school like CRX.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like just, it's like, yeah, I know it's not fast. It's cool. I don't know how to describe it, you know?
It looks great parked.
A buddy of mine had one in high school, and we'd ride around it. It's like, so there's also like those core memories of like,
right.
But it was also that time when like you got in a car to drive it somewhere. It was simple, you know, and like everything worked. It wasn't like your whole, like people make their vehicles so much of their identity instead of just like, that's a cool car.
Yeah.
They make it, you know, like now all these people who buy like, you know, Mustangs and Challengers and stuff, it's like, those are fine cars, but like you're making it your whole persona that you have this car.
Not only that, everyone has those.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even that. It's like,
do you like that?
Me or
no? I'm saying like to the person that buys it. Like
they do.
Do you like the Challenger, or do you just like that everyone else?
No,
likes
they like what they think the Challenger signifies that they are.
Right.
You know, like I drive a fast car. It's like it's not even that fast of a car when you're talking about fast cars. You know? Whereas I'm more of a give me something interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
I love interesting cars.
Yeah. I don't care. Like, give me something that's a little bit customized, that's totally weird, that I don't see every day, and I'm all about it. I don't need to go fast. I can cruise everywhere I go, you know? Because if you really wanted something fast, right, it wouldn't be street legal. It would be like you would be those people building cars for like a drag strip. If you were just wanting to experience speed.
I never want to get to that point.
No, I mean,
because I like quick luxury.
Yeah.
Like I want a leather interior and I want cooled seats, but I want to be able to do, 150 on the highway.
Okay, so I was just talking to somebody I was trying to talk to Liz Mooney about that.
Yes.
Because I was telling her how, like, for me, like a car that I would like to have, but it's hard to buy because people think you want to impress them.
Yeah.
But it's like, I would love to have a, like a Porsche 911 Turbo. Yeah. Not because I want to go 200 miles an hour, but it's because, like, if I go on a road trip somewhere and I'm doing like 110, it feels like I'm doing 50.
I can tell you as someone that had that problem, because I had a Porsche Cayenne, people do think you're like trying to impress them.
Yeah, and it's like it's just kind of a great car.
I had a 2013 Porsche Cayenne GTS. It had a 4.8 liter 8-cylinder, naturally aspirated, and made about 500 horsepower.
I didn't know they put 8 cylinders in Cayennes.
Yeah.
I thought since that was kind of the smaller, I didn't know that.
The Macan is the smaller SUV.
I'm sorry. I got mixed up. I was thinking of the smaller car.
Oh, you're thinking like the Boxster.
Yeah. The is it the Cayman?
Cayman.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, you're right. So the SUV.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. 4.8 liter, close to 500 horsepower, all-wheel drive. Best car I've ever had.
I mean, do you see the people who buy them used and turn them into like these great off-roaders and stuff?
Yeah,
they look sick.
I would like to do that with a first-generation Cayenne.
Okay.
So all the first-generation Cayennes came with the 8-cylinder except for the base model.
Oh, okay. But it's just, again, that's one of those companies too. It's like, look, I know that's a really expensive car, and most people aren't using what it's engineered for. But their obsession with not changing the designs, just slightly tweaking and improving every generation, just a little better.
I would argue the Porsche customers actually use their cars for what they're intended for, instead of like people that buy G-Wagons. That is, the G-Wagon is the most capable off-road vehicle on the market.
Yeah.
No one is taking it off-road.
I was trying to explain to my wife that. I was like, do you know how much more capable that is than my Toyota Tacoma? And she's like, what? And she's like, but it doesn't look. I go, I know. Even on those like thin little tires, I was like, they just know what they're doing. I tried to explain to her what like a portal axle was.
I was just
like,
about to bring up portal axles.
I was like, it's got clearance.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. And the thing I love about G-Wagons is like all the parts are interchangeable. Like you can buy a 2002 G-Wagon and put every single panel from a 2018.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, they didn't change the design for like over 30 years.
Wow. Yeah.
There's one right now on Facebook Marketplace that I think it's like a 2002 with everything from like a 2017, and they like updated the interior. They've done some mods to the motor. They went $50,000 for it.
Wow.
And it's like, that's still an expensive vehicle, but like it looks like $150,000 car.
Knowing what it costs.
Yeah.
Hey, I was trying to think of the name the other day, but I couldn't figure it out. But G-Wagon has from the factory a version where it comes with that lift, a little bit bigger tires. It's got like the
4x4 squared.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And it's like what, $250,000 or something.
It's crazy.
But it looks that's where the douchebag in me comes out. Where I'm like, that looks so sick.
Oh, I would definitely.
But it's also like it's so capable.
Right.
But it looks great if you have to valet it too. Like it is an all-rounder.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like let's say comedy really kicks off, right? And you're just, man, you're up there just skyrocket fame, you're selling out theaters, you're selling out arenas, right? You're just making the money. And money is no longer an object to you. Do you think you'll be able to cut the check for $250,000 for the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, no 100%. Problem. I don't know if I could do it.
I would do it now if
you had it.
If I walked out and there was a duffel bag of like
I have $251,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy a G-Wagon. 100%. I have no problem spending money. I'm actually too good at spending money.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, I just I think and I shouldn't give a shit, right? But I think I get hung up on the like if like my relatives found out I spent $250,000 on a car.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like would they respect me?
Oh, my family would love that.
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
my thing is
I don't think my family would even care, but that would be rattling in my head.
I understand. Like I said, from when I had my CAIN, I know I would get looks and like people would be like, "Oh, you're doing this to impress me," but I know I didn't do it for that.
Right.
I did it because I love cars. And this is the best vehicle I could have bought for $30,000.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. It's funny that in a used $30,000 Porsche SUV, you get those looks, right? But people don't think about that if they see somebody in like an Escalade.
Exactly.
And it's like that's a shittier car.
Right.
That one's not even going to last as long as this one.
And it costs them more.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about an $80,000 vehicle, and people are like, well, yeah, they got a big family.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, that's why I bought the CAIN, because I was actually trying to prove a point. A friend of mine was looking into buying a new car, and I think they were going to spend like $50,000. And it was, I won't say the brand because the person will know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I was like, why would you buy that? I was like, it's going to be $50,000 for a base model, cheap plastic, like no amenities, no sunroof, no nice radio, nothing. I was like, you could buy a Porsche Cayenne for $20,000 less. And I was like, look, and I got on this website and I was like, look at this one, and
find you a good mechanic to look it over.
Right.
Do like let's say you drop another $3,000 to $4,000 in some maintenance that needed to be done just to make sure it's running. It's like you're still driving a Porsche.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as I was like showing them, I was like, look at this one, and I was like, oh wow, that one's really nice.
That's how you got yours?
I was like, I think I'm gonna buy this one. And like in my head for like 2 days, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. The next day I signed paperwork.
Well, that's kind of how we went to looking at those Volvos.
Yeah.
Because she got the XC90, the bigger SUV. And like here in Dallas you see a few more of them, but it's like when you get out to some of these suburbs, it's not a car that people think about. It's not a brand that people think about, right?
Yeah.
They think about Ford, Chevy, maybe they're doing Subaru now, Hyundai, they're like, I'll go get a Telluride, or something. And it's like I love a lot of those, like I like Top Gear and Grand Tour. So it's like I've kind of been exposed to some of those other brands just through some of the shows I like. And then we see them around, I'm like, they look good. Like you don't think about them, right? You never think it looks flashy, but it's a luxury vehicle. But we went online and it's like, oh, like a brand new one of those, like 75, 80,000. Like we're not doing that. That's not our budget. And but then I was kind of shocked to see that their resale was terrible, which works in our favor.
Yeah. And
then what you were talking about, how the G-Wagons really don't change design. I was like, the Volvos have kind of looked the same over almost the last decade, it seems
Yeah.
like. You know, they really don't change much. And definitely like the last 5 or 6 years, they look the same. So we bought a used one, and it had depreciated by like, you know, I think it was like $35,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
And it was only, I think she's got a 2021 is what we got. And when you look at it, it's like, well, what were the differences? It's like, oh, well, there's like a little crystal shifter now instead of the black one, and they changed the wood grain to a different type. And it's like, oh, no, we're good with the used one.
We
Let's
don't
go
care about
used.
that, yeah.
You know, the mileage was right. And so it's kind of like a great brand in terms of just because it doesn't have that brand loyalty here in Texas, you know, Volvo. And that's like, man, you can get like a steal on a used one if you just kind of take your time.
Yeah.
Watch what's coming into the dealer, you know.
I do like I like people that have a niche. There's a Volvo community.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I've learned.
that's really cool that y'all like that.
Because I started looking at those V90 wagons.
Yeah.
You know, and
those are cool.
yeah, but you know, I was disappointed when I found out they don't do the V90s in North America. They just do the cross countries now. So, which those are fine too. I like those too. But you know, that lowered wagon just looks sick.
I love
Like-
wagons. Yeah, I can talk about wagons all
And like
day.
and like the true V90 that they get in Europe, where it's fast.
Yeah.
like it's a true, like it's a real fast car.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I know for sure if once the comedy checks start hitting, it's I'm buying almost any German wagon you can think of.
Yeah. Well, I remember you were telling me about the Mercedes wagon. Don't they have like an E-Class or something?
Yes. So there's a bunch, but my favorite one is the 2009 E55 AMG.
What is it about that one?
No, it's actually E63. So in 2009, I think that was the last year that they made that body style. That body style had a refresh in like 2007, and if you get that one on the center shifter, that's where the push to start button is.
Oh, that's
and I
cool.
just think that's really cool.
Yeah, again-
but it also has a big 6.2 liter 8-cylinder that makes like close to 600 horsepower. It's an all-wheel drive Mercedes that's a station wagon.
Yeah.
What's not to like about
Dude,
it?
I'm going to have to send you a picture of one of my neighbors. He's got 2 Mercedes that look a couple years apart.
Yeah,
Same color and same rims.
yeah.
And he does not need a second one. But so to me, I'm like, this is some kind of limited model that you found.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I found
gotta
another one. I
have
gotta
it,
have.
yeah.
I'm gonna send a picture to you and see if you can tell me what it is, because it's just that kind of beige Mercedes color that they had. But it looks like it's a bigger, longer wheelbase 4-door. Like maybe there's like a big V10 or something under there. It looks like there's something special going
Big
on.
sedan, yeah.
Big sedan.
I love sedans.
Because when I was looking at, I mean, it's a shame that people don't love sedans, right? Like we got tricked in America thinking you need the SUVs.
No, a big like a S-Class Mercedes, they're beautiful.
Well, like talking about those Volvos, I was reading up on the not the wagon, but the sedan, the 90, or is that what it is? Yeah. And how the way that one's set up for like maximum rear leg room. And it's like, yeah, isn't that the stuff you should think about with comfort? You know, how like, I think it's in Japan, they kind of gauge a car like if the rear leg room is tight, they're like, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so some manufacturers will have to have longer wheelbases for Japan.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, just shifting that mindset of we don't need this, you know, you don't need a big car to have a really roomy car.
Yeah.
Like going back to Toyota, honestly, I've been so disappointed with their kind of rebranding of stuff. We went and looked at the Toyota Sequoia, right? Their huge SUV. I sit in the second row, and my head's hitting the ceiling, like my chin's tucked down. It's like, how is it
smaller?
Yeah, and then like the new Tacoma, I just looked at it just because, and the back seat the truck is bigger than my version, and somehow the back seat is smaller.
Yeah.
And it's like, so how are your vehicles getting so large on the outside and so tiny on the inside?
And you know the Sequoias are built on the same frame as the Tundras.
Right. So I don't know. It's like the whole reason this thing is big and massive is to carry people, and it doesn't even carry people well.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, they rebranded the Land Cruiser, right? So we went and looked at the Land Cruiser, and it's like, to your point earlier, it's like we get in there, their base model, it's like they try to trick you into being like, we've got this retro version that's got cloth seats and cheap plastic. It's the throwback. And it's like, this is all the cheapest stuff. And, you know, the dealer's like, the sticker on it, you know, it's like $60,000 for the base model.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way, you know? And so now when she thinks about what she got in this used luxury vehicle for cheaper, and she's like, I can't believe we were even considering that.
Yeah.
You know?
And stuff is getting smaller, and I don't understand why, because I remember when I was growing up, we had a 2004 Tahoe. and it had so much room in the back for like
Huge.
groceries and like for us to like carry stuff behind the third row.
Yeah.
The third row seat, there was still enough space for us to carry things. And I remember a couple of years ago, it was like I was looking at a 2017 Tahoe, and it had like this much space behind the third row seat.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how, because the leg room was worse.
And if you park them next to each other,
Yeah.
the newer one looks massive.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my Toyota Tacoma is almost the size of what a like 90s full-size single cab pickup would have been, right? And it's like, so how does it not feel like it has the same room as that single? Like, you know, I used to have that bench seat, so it's like you could sit 4 people in the cab of one of those old F-150s, a single cab. And it's like my wife and I feel like we barely fit in this Tacoma in the front now.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? You know, I know we have like some airbags and stuff now, but that can't account
Some
for all of that. And
airbags,
but you know what I'm saying? Like that can't, you know, the airbag and the pillar here can't be what's making us lose 6 inches of interior space. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know what's going on with it. It's like we complicated it, we made them smaller somehow. It's like they're not great cars.
No, and like mechanics can't work on them.
No, of course not.
It's all electrical.
Dude,
now.
I changed my own spark. You know, I try to do what I can, and
Yeah.
when I change the spark plugs, the amount of stuff I have to take off to get there, just to get there, I was like, Jesus. Where on that old Ford, it was like an inline 6-cylinder.
Yeah, they're
it's
all
like you
there.
open the hood and you're like, there it is.
They're like presenting themselves
Yeah.
to you, like, hey, we're right here.
You know, and we sold that truck. Like, I'm not even a huge Ford person. I
Yeah.
just think that particular truck was great. I think Ford now, like I would never buy a Ford right now. And but that particular truck, it's like my dad bought it used. He drove it for a while. Then he gave it to my older brother. He drove it through like high school. Then I drove it through high school. Then my sister. Then my stepmom. And then they sold it. And it was like 5 years later after that, I saw it driving around in Plano somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, how?
No,
was
they
it
don't die.
How was it still running? And how did we get away from that? It was so reliable.
Yeah.
You know? But then I just sound like an old man talking about like, cars used to be great.
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
I think Top Gear kind of ruined me too. Like they kind of start breaking down what really makes something good.
Yeah.
You know, now you start looking at it different, which I'm happy they did because now I don't care about some of the other stuff. You know, you start thinking about that driving experience. Like, how does this car make you feel?
Yeah.
You know?
I just think, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love modern technology and I like the idea of integrating new stuff into older cars. But it's just like knowing at one point all those TVs in the cars are going to fail. And then what is the car going to be? Like you have to have it where that stuff can go off and you can still drive the car.
Yeah.
And the way things are set up now, it's like everything is controlled by those TVs, the screens in the cars. And it's just, it's going to make the cars basically undrivable in the next couple of years.
I think what's going to happen, right? You know, I think Tesla, you know, after this 4-year cycle, everyone's going to stop being bothered by Elon again. And they're not, you know, he's going to do his thing. But Tesla's autonomous driving, it's going to happen. You know, I think that's going to take over. And I think people will get real worried, like that'll be the end of cars. But I don't think so. I think the people who don't care about cars will love it.
Yeah.
And then someone like you were saying, you know, I want to get like a commuter and then have my cars that I care about.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it's going to be. It's like now if you go on like a cruise or something and you do like an excursion, people are like, you know, what did you do? They're like, oh man, we went, you know, to this beach. We rode some horses and stuff. I think other people are going to be like, oh man, we on the excursion, we went and like we drove. Like we drove cars. You know, and then but the people who love cars.
Yeah. The ones that want to drive.
The ones that want to drive, like you'll still have you can do that. And it'll just be kind of a little bit of a novelty, but I think that'll make it like all of a sudden all these cars that you wanted will be affordable.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I think it's kind of like people worry about the electric cars taking over, you know, but it's like I think having the blend is going to be helpful because look, if we can get air pollution down, right? You know, I'm not going to care if you're driving your car that's like polluting like crazy if 60% of the cars aren't putting out exhaust fumes anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of just like offsetting that ratio.
Well, the whole net zero carbon emissions is complicated. And there are solutions to it. They're just very expensive. Like, did you see the net zero gasoline that Porsche made?
No.
Yeah. So they have a factory down in Brazil where basically net zero says you're not adding anything extra to the environment that already exists. So they're able to pull from the air all the toxins and then make them into a gasoline, and then it goes right back out. So they're not adding anything new, but it's also not like great, you know?
Yeah, we're not making it worse,
Right.
is what we're saying.
It's basically just keeping things the same.
Yeah.
But it's like $60 a gallon.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
Until
right?
it gets to the point where it's like, you know.
But do you believe them? Like, I don't know.
Because
how many times have we been tricked, you know?
Yeah, Volkswagen did that.
Right? Yeah. Well, what I think about is like when COVID hit and so many people stayed home and we weren't driving.
Yeah.
You know, we had like 2 or 3 weeks where they were like, this is the best air quality we've ever had. Right. So I think that's the thing is like, you cannot deny. Look, I love driving. I drive so much. If I can go on a road trip, I love doing that. You know, I'm polluting as much as anyone is what I'm trying to say. But like here in Dallas, right? If you pick any one of these highways, if you just go over Highway 75, you go over I-35, whatever, and you just started counting cars, right?
Yeah.
The volume of cars that we have, you can't deny that air pollution is a factor in like major cities especially.
Right.
So that's my thing is like, okay, these people who don't care about cars, the person who is just buying the Toyota Corolla for its economy and affordability, right?
Back and forth to work.
Let's get them that electric car, right? And then if we can get that overall air pollution down, right? I don't even care about like net zero. If we're just saying like, hey, we've noticed in Dallas the air is, 40% cleaner, right?
Yeah.
Because we have 40% more non-gasoline engines, right? Then if you decide you're driving your Ford Raptor today, it's like, it kind of doesn't matter. We've already offset it enough that we're kind of doing the same thing as like that net zero fuel where we still, like what you're doing isn't making anything worse because we're countering it with this. So we're kind of good, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll ever go all electric.
No.
I think
you could never get rid of the internal combustion engine
No,
because too much manufacturing relies on it.
I think the blending of it's going to be, I mean, imagine if you just get the 18-wheelers all electric.
Yeah.
Right? That would be a huge knock.
And those are all diesel.
Right. So that would help massively, and it doesn't even affect the cars we drive.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, but it's other things like too, like, equipment for construction, cargo boats that are, going everywhere.
Did you see the clips where they're putting these revolutionary, like it looks like a stick that goes straight up, but it's got these kind of little fins on it, and when the wind hits it just right, it's kind of spinning. And they're like, so what we're doing is we're using the power of the wind to take some of the burden off the combustion engine of the ship.
Yeah.
And it's like, so sails. It's a sailboat, right? We've had this technology.
No,
and
this
it's like,
is new.
Yeah, it's like, I'm all for it. Like, use it, but like, stop. Like, so we made this new thing. It's like, yeah, the power of the wind. Yeah.
That's funny.
We figured that one out, didn't we?
I just, my only issue with like, the people that want to drive, they can drive, is like, where are we going to do that? Because right now, I can just leave my house and I'm immediately on the road and I'm driving.
That'll be the hardest thing with autonomous vehicles is, it's America. We want freedom, and that's part of it is going, I can get in my car and go wherever I want right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, like I work 5 days a week right now. And sometimes the thing that gets me through the week is knowing, hey, Friday, I'm going to get to drive my cool car to work.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Liz about that. I was like, you ever just go for a drive just because? Like, I'm just going to put on some good music, cruise around this area that I hadn't been to in a while, see what's going on. It's like just to drive.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that'll ever go away. I think that's the key, though, right? If you're using your whatever for commuting, but you can still, like, when you want to do that, right, then you can drive whatever you want. And as long as they never mandate you have to do this, then I think we'll be fine. But, part of the reason I'm ready for autonomous driving is we like driving. We like cars. I'm assuming you're a decent enough driver and you know how, like, things work. It's like the amount of terrible drivers right now.
Yeah.
And it's not even like you're crashing into things. It's like the amount of people who don't know how to turn their high beams off.
Yeah.
That little stuff where I'm like, you need a car that drives for you. You're who this demographic is.
I won't say who. My family member recently got a car. And I got home from work and they were like waiting for me. And they're like, I don't know how to program anything on my car. And I was like, well, I don't know either. It's not my car.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just got in and I was like, okay, did you read like the setup screen? And she was just like, okay, didn't know where the cruise control was, didn't know how to like connect her phone to Bluetooth, didn't know how to set the garage door opener. I'm like, you don't need a car. Like,
yeah, this is not you. This is not for you.
It's telling you how to do all of this. Yeah. And also you could just like look up on your phone, like, where's the turn signal, you know?
Now that's what I'm saying. Now that you have all the stuff in the world, like, you know what kills me? What kills me is when you see someone in like a 2025 whatever car.
Yeah.
Right? And they're talking on their phone like this. They're holding the phone. They're holding their phone up to their face, talking. Yeah. It's like, you're in the future. Yeah. Hook that Bluetooth up. What are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? How do you? And it's like the dealership would have set that up for you. And if they can't, like, get on that phone that you know how to use, go to YouTube, like go to Reddit, go to Facebook, call your neighbor. Like, somebody's going to be able to help you do this.
Yeah, there's little things that irk me whenever like someone's driving. Like, if your windshield's dirty, I'm like, hey, do you know how to put some washer fluid on there? And they're like, no, I've never done that. Why? Why have you not pressed every button in this car before?
Yeah, aren't you curious?
Yeah.
You know, like I got real curious. You know, it's like Tacoma has a huge brand loyalty thing, right? So there's like Facebook groups and all this stuff. And it's like immediately joined a group, started reading all this stuff.
Yeah.
Started looking at like, oh, if I hold that button for 3 seconds, it does this. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like immediately I'm like, okay, so if I hit this button, the traction control's off. But if I hold it down, it's really off.
Yeah.
You know, like all those little things.
I think that comes down to someone just being like curious in general.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like when an older person gets a phone.
Yeah.
They just need to know how to make a phone call.
Right.
They don't know how to like adjust the camera settings. They don't know how to like, if you want it to vibrate this many times when you get a phone call, you change this setting. Yeah. Like, they don't go through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's because we're, like, I think the car in America especially, it's like this big significant thing, right? Because it's so vast. Like, driving is a necessity. And so I view a car as like, you know, it's not your whole identity, but it's definitely such an important part of your life. Like, why don't you understand it better?
Yeah.
You know, you rely on this here. So, like, you cannot live in Texas and flourish without a vehicle. And it's like, I know we have, like, public transport and we have Uber and these things. It's like, but you can get by. You can do fine with that. But like if you like you right now with comedy, it's like if you had to rely on public transport to get to your gigs and all these things, it'd kind of be a nightmare. I
wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
That's what I'm saying. You need to be able to go, okay, right now I can go do this, and then I can drive across here and go do that, and then I can still get home. And it's like, 'cause especially right now, you got a day job. It's like
that happens every weekend.
Yeah, and it's like you need to know that you can. I need to be in control of where I'm going. I guess is what I'm getting.
I had 2 weekends in a row where I had a show at 7 in Fort Worth, and then like at 8:30 in Addison.
Yeah.
So it's like,
imagine having to rely on like a Uber or Lyft driver.
There's no way.
And it's like the little things. It's like, you know, like, okay, I could take the highway or I could take this little cut.
Yeah.
You know, I could do this little thing here, you know, and they're never going to do that for you. You know, and it's like the more public the transport gets, like on a train, it's like, I'm also at the mercy of like, how many people are we waiting on at this stop? These people walk slow. They're not like, you know, like, what are we doing? So I need to just get in and go.
Well, with Dallas comedy, it's like all the clubs aren't centralized. They're all spread out. There's at least 10 clubs in the DFW area, but none of them are like close to each other.
No. Well, especially like Fort Worth, you know, it's like I want to get out to like Big Laughs more.
Yeah.
And there's this whole group of comics that's working at Big Laughs that I haven't seen that I keep hearing good things about. And, you know, it's like, even in Dallas, it's like, okay, I got to commit, 40 minutes to get over there.
Yeah.
You know, even if there's no traffic, I'm looking at about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Big Laugh is cool. I've
heard good things.
Yeah, that's a place that like they do showcases like pretty much every single day. That's one of those places like if you're not booked on anything and you're already like cool with the people there, you can just hit them and be like, hey, do you have any spots tonight? And you can get on.
So they're doing a more showcase style, kind of like what Backdoor Comedy does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They do a lot of showcase, and then they also have weekend headliners like upstairs in the big room.
So they have 2 rooms?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, technically downstairs isn't a room. It's just they have
like a
curtain.
bar area or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
kind of how
the
the comedy arena is, where they do that open mic downstairs, but they have the stage upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I like it. And I just like any addition that looks like they're like they look like a club who's taking it very seriously and putting their hat in the ring around here of like, we want to be established. You know?
Yeah, they do cool things there.
And Fort Worth can use more. It's like, Hyenas is doing great over there, but there's nothing wrong with a little healthy competition either.
Yeah, also
make sure
like,
you're both on your A game.
also Hyena's in Fort Worth isn't doing much of like, I say this as like a dig or anything, but they don't do a lot of like local stuff.
Yeah,
it's all like big headliners that are coming in on the weekends, and then the Red Room hardly gets like any play.
I say it with like I'm criticizing it like you would criticize like a loved one, you know? And it's like that Red Room could be something special with a little TLC.
Yeah.
With a little bit of care of like the booking and promotion of that room.
Because we all love the Red Room.
Kind of the way DCC is using that small room for their shows. The Red Room should be doing that for the Fort Worth scene.
100%. The small room at DCC, that's one of the best rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I like the new big room that they've done at DCC, beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd rather work a packed small room at DCC.
Yeah. In that small room, I like it how it is. It's like it's a couple tweaks away from being just incredible.
Right. But the
minor thing, and I know I can tell already, like the fact that they invested into that big room, they seem like the type of people who already have plans for that little room. They're just waiting for whatever time of year or budget or whatever. It's I don't even worry about it.
They have plans for that room, and they already have a third stage built in the back corner
that's
of
like
the building.
Weird, like around past the restrooms, right?
Yeah.
I see that area, but I have no idea what's over there.
So, that's another plan that they have of like a half indoor, half outdoor setup.
Once I saw that they were actually, like, once the main room was closed for construction, I went, oh my God, like somebody's actually reinvesting.
Yeah.
Like that's not a cheap thing, and
and to do it within a time frame.
Yeah, I mean, like, have you ever had to like renovate a house or anything?
Yeah.
So it's like there's always something unexpected. There's always a permit you didn't think you needed, and it's like it gets more expensive than what you thought and takes longer.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they were willing to shut down and do that, to go, no, it's better in the long run.
No, me and my dad
Hell
are building a house right now.
Oh, cool.
We broke ground in 2017. It's still not done.
What's taking so long?
It's just,
how big is this house, man?
It's big.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of like permits and workarounds and a bunch of bullshit. So like I understand like that whole construction just timing. It's never on the time you say it's going to be.
No. So once I saw that they did that, I was like, to me, I felt that they were really putting a serious foot forward. Not that they weren't doing it at the beginning, but once you start investing that kind of money, you're establishing like, we're trying to do something here.
Yeah.
We're trying to be a force to be reckoned with in the comedy scene.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to see eventually they're going to do something in that little room. And it's going to
it'd be cool.
It's going to step up to another level.
Yeah, that club is the closest one to my house, so that's where I'm usually.
I didn't even intend for that to be the club I'm going to the most.
Yeah,
but it just happens to have shows I want and people I want to see, and it's down the street. Like I'm over here in East Dallas. It's a short drive. I'll see some of their bookings and it excites me. Well, your show that I came to where y'all were just trying to get some clips, the free show.
Yeah.
It's like I walk in, it's on Super Bowl Sunday, right? And the place is packed and you're barking trying to get your show filled so y'all can get your clips filmed with a crowd. And it's like I didn't even check the website and I'm like, what's going on around there? And they're like, oh, Gerard Carmichael dropped in.
Gerard Carmichael
it's like,
there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing that kind of stuff around this club now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you got this whole crowd, because even him, as established as he is, to pull that big of a crowd on Super Bowl Sunday,
crazy.
That's not a small feat.
And he has no social media.
Right. So it's like, well, good for you guys, club.
Yeah.
That's a big pull.
That's why I was able to get some more seats in the.
Yeah, I saw you hustling when I came in. I was going to say hi, and I was like, oh, he's working. Okay, go for it, man.
I mean, it was a free show, but we needed butts in seats because I set it up with the club that we were going to do that show for free because it was with the intention of we're filming for clips.
Right.
And the reason I did that was because I'm slowly putting clips out right now because I'm promoting a bigger show that I'm going to have in March.
Okay.
And so I was like, I want to have stuff out there. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, we need butts in seats and we need them to laugh.
Yeah.
And
well, how did you feel about it? That's the first time you've done that, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it now that you're on the other side of it? What would you change? What did you like?
There's a couple things I would change.
Probably not Super Bowl Sunday.
I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that it was going to land on Super Bowl Sunday.
Sure.
But Rosie had just texted me a bunch of dates that were available.
Yeah.
And I just picked the closest one.
So you picked that one?
Yeah, I picked the closest date. I was like, oh, this one's like next week. Let's do that one.
Yeah. And what remind me, what time was it? It was like
No, 8:30.
Yeah, so it was like during the game, right?
Yeah, it was like third quarter, which I was fine with because I didn't like either of the teams in the Super Bowl, and I just wanted to see the halftime show.
Yeah.
So I was like, as soon as Kendrick Lamar is done, I'm gonna go to my show. There was a couple things I would change, but overall it went good. I do plan on doing it again, just because it's a good thing for like us in the community to get high quality clips.
For sure.
Because, you see people put out clips sometimes. They're blurry. They're from far away. The quality of the audio is not good.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if the joke is really funny, it's harder for that clip to take off versus if you would have done that same joke and it was super well polished.
Yeah. It's that's been what I've really learned about the comics in the scene is, they love comedy. They love writing jokes and doing things, but a lot of them have zero concept of all that back end work that it's going to take to get those jokes out to people, and trying to convince them like you've got to be this all around kind of business person when you just want to do comedy.
It's way more than just
like
doing comedy.
That old generation of how you could do it, it's dead and gone. And I'm not saying you got to sell your soul and just do all this stuff, but you have to be a promoter for yourself now,
you have to know social media. You have to be able to promote yourself. You have to, know how to edit clips. You got to know how to make posters. You got to know you got to know a little bit of everything.
The one skill you really need to know is just how to look that up.
Yeah.
Right? Because
you just need to have
I've worked with some people where they're like, how do you do that? How did you like accept this, or how did you add me on that? And it's like, just Google it. Just look it up on YouTube. Like the information's out there. You just need to have that drive to go, I can figure something out.
That's
here.
what it is. It's just because we have access to so much information.
Dude, just like little apps like CapCut for your clips,
Right.
I didn't know anything about that. It's like, okay, we're going to download the app. We're going to watch some tutorials. We're going to read about some stuff. We're going to do a little trial and error. And then now it's like, okay, we know how to make clips now.
Yeah. I edit most of my clips on TikTok directly in their interface.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I don't know how to do that. It's like, I bet there's TikToks on how to do that on TikTok. I mean, it's all there. Anything you want to learn, and if you got some free time.
I've always been like a guy where it's like, there's never been something that's been put in front of me where I'm like, I can't do that. Usually I'm like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I fuck up a lot,
but
that's then
the
you
process.
learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the only thing that usually limits me is just budget. That's it. It's budget. But I mean, like I got to work with Lawrence on his thing, and it's like, I don't have a big, visual, like I don't have a big, like videographer background or something. I didn't do this forever, It's like, but I know what I like to see, and I don't know like originally it's like I don't know the verbiage of how to communicate to somebody who does this for a living. It's like, okay. I like how the background's blurry. What is that?
Right.
And then it's like you just find things. You start. And then before you know it, you're in a group, you're asking questions, and it's all just about figuring out. And it's like you get a camera and you go shoot some stuff and you mess it all up.
Yeah.
And it's like, your first attempt is never going to be good anyway.
No, but you learn from it.
Yeah. And it's like now I know enough to communicate what I want to other people. And then now I know, like, I filmed Lawrence's intro sequence myself. That was me just by myself and my camera. And
where he's in the suit.
Yeah. So that was all me, and I was like, I'm really happy with that for someone who doesn't do this for a living. I was like, I loved it.
It looks really good. I thought going into it that he was going to be like wearing the suit on stage.
Yeah. Some people have told me that, and the way he explained it to me was, I'm trying to think, because when we had talks, I was like, I know what I would like to do. I was like, but this is your thing. Like, what do you want to do? And he had this idea of, a lot of his material is just when he was kind of at one of the most loser points of his life, is kind of how he was phrasing it. Just people didn't like him. He wasn't doing well. He had his addiction issues and all that. And so he just had this image of kind of being like all dressed up, like kind of compensating.
Yeah.
But you're still just like sitting alone and like nobody, like people know you're a loser and they don't care, And so that's what he's talking about. I was like, dude, I'm going to wear this nice suit. I was like, all right, works for me. And then a couple people have told me, they're like, yeah, I thought I was going to see him in a suit on stage.
Yeah.
He's like, is it a t-shirt?
I thought that was him walking into the club.
No, we did it days later, afterwards. But yeah, that would have been fun.
No, it looks great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'll off mic, I would tell you all the things I would want to change because I don't want to like shit on people.
Right.
But
that's why I didn't say anything about my show either.
Of course, yeah. But what it was, like, that was the first one I did.
Yeah.
We're going to do another one later this year. I can't see who it's with yet. And it's like, man, just that one. It's like all the stuff I could, if I would have just waited and been like, well, maybe when we do this, maybe when we do that, the amount I learned off just that one.
Yeah.
You know, okay, this time when we do it, here's some of the mistakes we're not going to make, you know? But yeah, I had a good time with it. It was, I'm trying to think of like something tiny, you know? It was like one of the things I was giving instructions to like the camera guys of like kind of what I wanted. And, you know, I don't like static shots. I like shots that move, right? Like when you're walking, I want to follow. And one of them just didn't really get that memo. And so it was fine.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff I wanted to do with it, we weren't able to do later.
Because
and it's
the
like,
camera
yeah,
operator,
but it was a communication issue for me, not being very specific.
How many cameras did y'all have?
We had 3. We were originally going to do 4. Something happened. I have a whole journal of what happened to that day and that night of how I'm hoping Lawrence will get to a point where his career is taken off and I can talk about that entire evening without fear of like hurting his career at all.
Yeah.
He was great. No issues with him, but there was just like a lot of back end stuff where you're like, I can't believe we actually pulled this off after all this other stuff, you know? And I told him, I was like, dude, write down your whole experience because I'm going to write down my whole experience. And, you know, 10 years from now, we'll see kind of how, you know, we'll do like a tell-all or something.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I loved it, man. I want to do more. I just, you know, like how many years are you in right now?
A little bit over 2 years.
2 years? How much time do you think you have? That you love? Love? Yeah.
2025.
Yeah. And so, you know, you're not giving that up yet. You know, you've got more work to do to build things, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, where I'm at with that stuff is I want to do more, but people are in these zones where they're building their set and maybe they don't feel like they're prepared to let that go. And then also, I don't know if they're convinced themselves that it's good enough.
Right. I don't know. I've been going back and forth with it in my head for the past couple of months over like burning material and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm trying to build to a point where I have 40 to 45. And then once I get to that point, I just want to burn like 15 at a time.
Gotcha.
So like if I have this 45, I'm going to write a new 15. And then out of that whole hour, I'm going to burn 15 of that. And then the new 45 that I have is even stronger.
Well, you know, my long-term goal with one of the things I want to do like with this platform of like I'm a fan of is the YouTube channel. I would love to do something like what, you know, like 800-Pound Gorilla, Don't Tell,
right.
and those people
producing specials,
for this region, you know, be not like I want to be like I'm the one you come to, but one of the options, right? I think there will be multiple, and so I see it blending like that. Like I think there are people who are going to want to do 45 minutes in an hour, right?
Right.
But I think there's some people, like I talked to Nimesh Patel. I kind of dropped it in his ear. He's got some material that's like hyper specific that he's been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's maybe like 7 minutes or something is what he was saying. And I was like, hey man, you know, if you want, I was like, you should invest some time into that. See if there's just anything left on that topic, right? And like, if you feel like you ever get it perfect and you want to record it, you know, I'd love to record that and then release it.
Yeah.
So I have this mix of just something is really interesting to me about very specific material that does not fit into a full set.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and to me, I was like, you know, we could find people that have these great bits that are maybe just kind of plugged in here and there, that where if you burned it, it didn't affect that larger set, but you still get some kind of entry-level promotional material where it's not a special, but you've got something that's high quality on the line.
Well, that was the idea behind the filming of the show that I did.
Right.
All the jokes that I burned were like, those don't fit into the set anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Those were just stuff that I had left over.
Yeah, I was curious if you wrote it just for that night or if it was more like
No,
that.
it was just old material that I stopped doing because it didn't fit into my normal 15 to 20. Where I was like, I don't do these jokes anymore, but they did well when I was doing them.
Right.
They just don't fit anywhere.
I think that's a smart move. But also, like, I think you probably have a similar mindset as me. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we were talking about artwork and everything, I like my preference. I don't think it's good or bad, but my preference is I like a themed comedy. If you're doing 45 minutes, I want it to be mostly about the same thing, or you dip in and out, but we're talking about one whole thing.
You know, do you know who Jacqueline Novak is?
No.
You need to watch her
Jacqueline
Netflix
Novak.
special.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You need to watch her
Newer
Netflix
comic,
special.
older comic?
went to college with John Mulaney.
Okay, so they're like they've been doing this for a minute then.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, but there's those people who've been doing it for a long time, but they're not household names.
Yeah.
Kind of like that,
so,
right?
Jacqueline Novak, she has a special on Netflix called Get on Your Knees.
Okay.
I tell everyone to watch it. It is the most well-written stand-up special that I've probably ever seen.
Okay.
And it's an hour and a half, and it's all about her describing giving a blowjob. But it is, the way it's written is like poetic.
Okay, I hope so, because that to me is like there's a couple topics where I'm getting so bored.
It's not boring.
I know.
Yeah, no,
but if you're recommending it, I know it's not going to be the typical.
Because I the first time I saw it, I was like, really, an hour and a half? No way.
That's a long time.
It's so good.
Okay,
it's so good. But this is what caught my attention. I was scrolling through Netflix, and Netflix already knows I just basically watch stand up. And it recommended that to me, and it gives you the little trailer with like the quotes that other people are saying about it, and it said on there, I have witnessed the Muhammad Ali of stand-up comedy. And that quote was from John Mulaney.
Oh.
And I love Mulaney.
Yeah.
So I saw that and I was like, all right, well, I got to see this.
Yeah.
And she had me hooked immediately.
Okay, I'll check it out. That's a good sales pitch. Don't tell me anymore. No, I just want to be surprised. But Get on Your Knees, that's what you said?
Get on Your Knees,
Okay, I'll remember that more than the name, and then the name will stick after I watch it.
Yeah. Well, basically, and this isn't giving anything away, but from like doing research afterwards, is she did this basically as a one-woman show for like 5 years before
so she had it
filmed
dialed in.
Yeah,
then.
so it was tight.
Yeah.
And she said that the whole time that she was like doing the 5-year one-woman show, that she was like tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and it just got to the point where it was the tightest that it was going to be, and they filmed it and put it on Netflix, and it was directed by Natasha Lyonne.
Okay, yeah, because that's Orange is the New Black, right?
Yeah.
The redhead. Yeah, and she's cool. She's legit. What you were saying about like she had spent 5 years on it and was just ready, like it was as good as it's going to be. That's kind of the pitch I was kind of giving some people is, I don't want you to like record something for the sake of recording something.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like an hour, I don't want you to think like, oh, I'll record this. We'll see if it gets me something. And then if I need to record it later, it's like, I want you to feel like you're sending this off with like a proper farewell of like, oh, it'll never be better. That's it. It's perfect. This is perfect. And in 5 years, it won't be perfect. So let's do it now. Because I think there's a lot of people in our scene who started comedy, well before social media was so important, and they have some of this gold material, some of these veterans, and it's like, you're ready to let that go.
Yeah,
now's the time, and you're so good. I'm not concerned about you writing another hour. Are you concerned about like, let's go, let's record this? And I'm trying to do it like I talked about with Spotify. It's like I'm not greedy. They're getting the lion's share of everything.
Right.
My goal is to build that channel and have a fun spot, and I don't want to rely on that for income of any kind. I just want like, we've got a lot of great people here. Let's start recording stuff and put it out. We'll see where it goes. I'm not forcing it either. I'm one of those like, the people are going to come to me when it's the right time and when it's the right fit. And
once it builds, more people will come.
I'm all about that slow burn. It's like, let's just, if you want to work with me, like when Lawrence was like, I want to do this. You seem like you're going to mesh well with my ideas. I was like, that sounds great, man. Let's go. And it's synced up. And if it's not like that, I don't think either of us should want to do it either. And it's like, you want to be real psyched about it. And so we'll see. It's something's going to, like I said, we're working on one later this year with somebody, and it's a similar thing where they threw me their idea, and I was like, man, I love it. It's totally different than how Lawrence's special is, and it's I'm going to try to find my ways to make it look completely different.
Hell yeah.
But I love the idea of as much as you love music, you probably love like movies too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you just have like a great intro sequence that just locks you in on a movie.
Yeah, it hooks you.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of the YouTube internet special generation we're in right now kind of misses. It's like when it just opens up and you're on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if you're making it like a special. If it's a shorter thing, I don't think that really matters too much. But if it's a special with a theme, I love the idea of like how close to like a cinematic thing can we get it?
Right.
If we can't,
I was also thinking about what you were saying earlier about like what you were telling Nimesh of like 7 minutes on like hyper specific material.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't need a crazy long set to call it like a special.
Right.
Like people that get don't tells. Mm-hmm. Like you've seen don't tells that have been like 10 minutes before.
I think those are some of the best that are being done too.
Yeah.
I think they really locked in on that region of like who their top comics are and how to present them really well. Them and 800 Pound Gorilla, I think, are the best currently.
Even like Dry Bar, they'll put out like 20-minute specials.
I think Dry Bar is great, and I think they have their market. The only thing I don't like about Dry Bar is I like my comedy to look, like it's in a club or, you know what I mean? And their aesthetic is more like it's like brighter. It's very, it all looks professional. It's great, but it's very well lit, and they have those big wide stages a lot of times.
Yeah,
it looks
like a theater.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I just like it more, I like those smaller stages where it's a little darker on the edges.
You love comedy clubs.
Yeah. I think that's.
I love comedy clubs.
I think that's just like the most perfect form of that. But I mean, a lot of the comics I like had a great Dry Bar special. So, it is what it is. It looks very church service. You know how like they film like a Sunday service? It's like, it reminds me of that, even though it's much higher quality, obviously. That's kind of a shitty way to describe it. But I'm sorry, Dry Bar. I don't mean it like that. But no, they've got great performers on there.
Yeah.
Do you know a guy named John Stringer?
No, I don't.
He's a guy who dips in our scene a lot, but he knows all these people here, and he's really well liked and very, very funny. And I think he's got a Dry Bar coming up soon. And I think he's one of those where like he's finally going to pop off from the Dry Bar special.
That would be cool, man.
Yeah, I hope so.
Linda has a Dry Bar special.
Yeah.
Linda Stogner.
Yeah.
Love that lady.
I love Linda. Linda comes up all the time on here.
She's a staple in this scene.
She's a staple, and like I have my own thoughts of what I think would ascend, Linda to not greatness here, but greatness on like a national level. Like I think Linda is nowhere near her potential. Like, I don't know. It's I don't want to say too much on here because I don't want it to seem like I'm dogging on her, because I wouldn't want to say anything I haven't said like directly to her face about like, here's what I think you should do. And like, who am I? I'm a podcaster.
I love her, and it's just one of those things where it's like, whether it happens or not, we all love Linda. Linda,
we love her, but the thing is like, Linda's like a rare comedy gift.
Yeah,
and I don't want people to not know about Linda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want Linda to come and go like on a national level, not be known. Because recently, I just had Danny Tran on here, and I was talking to him about Linda was on the Kessler Theater show with him.
Yeah.
And lately, when I've been seeing Linda, because I've been watching her for like a decade, but lately I'm seeing people who have never seen her before, and I'm zoning in on people's first impressions of Linda.
Right.
And it's like I realized how like, because I've had the luxury of watching her so many times, I'm used to some of that. And now when I see someone like freaking out, like, is she crazy? Is she insane?
They don't know.
Is she insane?
Yeah.
Am I in trouble right now if she loses it up here and this is when her manic break happens?
Yeah.
And watching that has brought a whole new level of excitement to me watching her again, because you're just seeing this pure comedy joy that she's giving these strangers who have never witnessed it. It's kind of like when you heard that first great album, the first time you heard it, it's like it never hits the same after that.
No, she's unlike anyone else.
Yeah.
I remember this past summer, for a good like month and a half, I was hosting at Backdoor like every weekend. And whenever it was Linda's turn to get on stage, I would just stand in the back of the room and just watch her like work these people.
It's a masterclass.
Because the whole room could be dead, and she would still crack them. And I was like, this lady right here, man, she's something else.
I didn't realize she was as good at crowd work as she is too. Because I've been to a couple of her shows now where she hasn't had a heckler, but it's somebody who's being like just a little weird. She's trying to do a touch of crowd work, and they're just giving the lame answers, being kind of difficult. And I've watched her weave that in, and I was like, I knew you were funny as a stand-up. I was like, I didn't know you had that crowd work skill too. I was like, you're rock solid all around.
She does the cool crowd work thing of like integrating you into the set later on as a callback.
Yes.
Where it's like, you just think, oh, where do you work? What's your name? Whatever. She's asking you these questions that on surface level seem kind of just like whatever, like anyone would ask them. But then by the end of the set, she's bringing you back in. The crowd remembers everything. It's just,
her whole story, this is what I'll say. I think there is so much untapped in that well that we can't even comprehend, because, she's like, the more you talk to her, the more you learn. It's like, when you find out she's SMU educated, you know, and that she's right here from South Dallas, and it's like that's not the typical SMU educated crowd. And it's like she has this vast amount of life experience that comes from very different angles, and it's like she's kind of dipped in and out of different areas so much.
Yeah,
that's like you are like an incredibly like the rich experience your life has had, and we haven't even been talking about that on stage yet. Like, how much more is there to discuss?
Right.
You know, like just her whole story of being, you know, adopted by these older people and all those things. Like, she's just scratching the surface of that. And do you ever see like the not weird, but the random like Facebook story she'll put up every now and then of like, oh, I was reminded of this. And she'll go through a story and you're just like,
it'll be a picture of her with Arsenio Hall. Yeah.
But you're just like, that whole story, if you want it seems like that's like 30 more minutes if you wanted it to be. And so it's like, I wonder what would happen if you could just go, Linda, whatever you're doing right now, you know, you can no longer do any of that anymore. What do you think you can have for me in like 3 months?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no doubt in my mind that she could write something else incredible. I would just love to see, like, I wonder what it would take to get Linda to start just going crazy writing.
Yeah.
New material every 6 months or something.
That'd be cool.
I'd
love to see it.
Because I'm just so curious what else is in there.
Yeah.
Like, I have no doubt that she's capable of it.
She's a great writer. She has 5 Emmys, you know?
That's okay. That's what I'm saying. It's like, how many people don't know that?
Yeah.
It's like, and she's not the person who's going to go bragging on herself.
Never says it.
Right.
Every time that I was host at Backdoor, I'd be like, Emmy Award winner. When I would introduce her, and she was like, you don't have to say all that.
Which is great, you know, and it's like, isn't that the person you want succeeding who's not succeeding for those reasons, right? And then just Backdoor alone, the fact that she's, you know, with the help of others, obviously, you know, rest in peace, Jan, but that like, that's the club that it's run by a comic who wants to keep it going for the, you know, she's developing how many comics?
Oh yeah, it's all comic ran. It's the prisoners taking over.
One of my like test of whether or not, you know, I'm gonna like you. Like it's a like if you love Backdoor, that doesn't mean I'm instantly gonna like you. But if you start talking shit about like, oh, they do clean comedy, that place sucks, blah blah. Like if you start dogging it, I'm automatically my radar's up. Like, okay,
that's a very
I gotta watch you. I gotta watch
comic perspective into the Dallas scene.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's part of like you with like your TikTok comics. You know what's going on in Austin. We're in a new level of like shot comedy,
right?
And so it's like, yeah, that's a way you can go. And I laugh at that comedy; it's great too. But when you do see a well-crafted, clean set, and it's only like days later where I was like, oh, they never said anything. Wow, I didn't even think about that was a clean set. Just now.
That's the best part when you like think about it later and you're like, oh yeah, I guess it was.
I guess it was clean.
Yeah.
And so you know,
I remember I did the Grove out in Arkansas, and they have Linda's face painted on the side of it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And I text her. I was like, "This is so crazy." I was like, "You inspire me so much."
She's cool, man. I really want. I don't even know what she wants. She may be content and living her life the way she wants to, and I'm just up here speaking on her behalf, you know. But like it's like I want more for you. It's like I want to see you in the rotation of some of these hugely known comics.
Yeah.
You know, she could be doing, like you said. It's like you find out you're like Arsenio Hall.
Yeah,
Arsenio Hall. Okay. And then, you know, every now and then a picture will come up and you're like, you opened for them too? You worked with them too?
I remember one of the shows that I produced was an all-woman show, and I had her headline, and I told her, I was like, hey, for promotion like that I'm putting on Instagram, could you send me like, just like a short bio of yourself? And she was like, yeah, for sure. And she sent me one, and like at the end it was like, has opened for Joan Rivers, Dave Chappelle, and like all these names, and I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'll put that on Instagram.
Yeah, and it's like you want to shake some people in the crowd sometimes because you're like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Like it's that caliber of comedy that you're witnessing. And you're witnessing here at Richardson, Texas.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just, that's like the dreamer in me.
Yeah.
Of like, you just want that spot to be the place where like when national people come through, they're like, you got to drop in over there.
Yeah.
It's the club. You know?
Another guy that's like that in the scene that I fucking love is Paul Varghese.
Oh yeah.
Every time I talk to him, it's just like, this is like crazy. You're like a legend, man.
Paul's one of the. He is the first local comic I ever met because one of his relatives, her and I knew each other, and so I was talking about how I'd started going to some comedy shows and stuff. This was like probably like I don't know 20. 2013 or something. And she was like, "Oh, my cousin does comedy," And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, were there like a local thing or something? She's like, "No, he does it for real," like, and then you look him up and it's like, "Oh, he's working with Russell Peters."
Yeah.
It's like nationally touring, major touring comic.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my first introduction to local comedy was him. And he's such a nice guy. It's like you'd go see him at a show. And he'd be like, "Let's go get a drink or something, hang out." And he was real friendly. And so then I started meeting a couple of the other comics of that era. And he's like, but he's another one too. It's like he's been doing it that long, and I still don't know that we've seen like the best that Paul Varghese has to offer.
He's already been.
It still seems like there's so much in there that we don't get to see yet. And it's like, what do you got up your sleeve, Paul? Yeah. I'm excited to see whatever it is.
Because he's already like over 20 years in.
Yeah.
I remember last
Well,
time.
he's one of those great examples. It's like these are phenomenal comics.
Yeah.
They're just not household names for whatever reason of the business, I guess. I don't know. So it's like, what does it take to how many of those do we have here locally, and why are they not on the map? And that's where like I'm a fan of. It's like, okay, what can I do to facilitate that in any way?
Yeah.
And play my small part, and then who are some other people that can do stuff like that? And then let's get this scene going.
Yeah, no, because Dallas is a great scene.
It's all here. I think we're just missing some pieces, but I'm not knowledgeable enough yet about a comedy scene and production.
The growth of one.
I'm not knowledgeable enough yet to like. There's things I don't know.
Right,
and I need to figure out what those are first before I can really do anything that's going to affect things.
It's one of those things where it's like Austin, especially. It really upsets me that they're seen as like the go-to spot for comedy in America right now, because before Rogan or any Austin was looked at as like the worst scene in Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to talk shit about Austin. I have a couple friends that live there that do comedy. But like, the level of writing in Austin is minuscule compared to Dallas.
Yeah.
And a lot of the top people in Austin are from Dallas.
Yes, we've had like there's a handful of people that have gone down there. They're doing really well, and then there's a handful of people who've gone down there and they're not doing well at all. And like what
it's so broad out there. There's so many people, and you kind of if you're not, if you're a decent comic here, you can probably do well over there.
Well, and just right now, the moment they're having is really intense, controversial topics. So it's like they're trying to put you on the edge of your seat, clutch your pearls, and that's fine. But like you said, that's going to play really well there. But are you only going to the Mothership? Are you only going to the Comedy Mothership? Are you only going to, what's the other one, Sunset Strip?
Sunset,
it's like,
Roscoe's.
Yeah, it's like, that's fine. But, at some point you're going to have to stretch your legs into other things.
What Austin is producing right now is comics that are of the moment.
Yes.
Whereas if Dallas was the highlighted scene, you'd have national headliners for the next 20 years.
Yeah. And I still think we have like work to do on our end, but it's all going to get there.
Yeah.
It's all going to get there.
The spotlight's just not on us.
It's okay.
And it works to our advantage.
You can build a lot of good stuff when you're not in the spotlight.
Yes. What I like about it is it's not like Austin where it's just too many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Austin, because I've gone there for a couple weekends, trying to do comedy and stuff, and it's just like every open mic is 150 people trying to sign up for a set that only has 20 spots.
Mm-hmm.
And of that, there's no audience. It's just the comics waiting to do their time and then go to the next one.
Yeah.
It's just all hustle bustle, which it's fine. That's good for grinding, but it's not, like Dallas where you can really work on a set. You get in front of audiences.
Yeah. I think that's another thing it feels like it's changing too, of that old concept of like just road dogging it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I think maybe your time management and your effort is going to serve you better.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're going to those Austin mics and you're just, you got something to work on, so you're going to go hit mic. That's probably really good. If you're just trying to work on this 3-4 minutes or whatever that you're trying to tighten up, that seems appropriate. Right. But then that next level above that seems like it's really hard to where you can work on, 10 minutes.
Right.
15 minutes.
Not only that, a lot of their stuff out there is like showcase, which is fine. I like being on showcases too. But there's not really a lot of opportunities to, learn the ropes as far as being a host, being a feature, what it takes to do those two things. Where it's like here in Dallas, you have those opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I think DFW as a whole is more representative of the different types of clubs you can get to around America.
Yeah.
Like you can go to Idaho and there's going to be a club similar to what you're doing here, so you're going to understand that process.
Yeah.
And Austin right now, I think they're going to be more representative. Like if you went to New York or LA, it's going to be similar to those scenes. And it's like, so that's great too. Like you should know how to do it all, right? But if your goal is just to be funny, I don't think it's a prerequisite that you got to go to any of those spots. I hope what we do in Texas, I think the Dallas scene is at a good spot and just needs to become more popular, and then everybody kind of grow together.
Yeah. And
then I think your Houston scene, something needs to happen there. It's such a huge city, and there are people down there.
It's growing more.
Yeah, but they need some people investing into clubs and things, and they need like the people of that comedy scene who love it to be in charge of it, because they've got their own little style and thing cooking down there.
Yeah,
and so I think that is what would be incredible, is to be able to hop from Dallas to even like Waco, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Tyler, right? To have just this big Texas swath of comedy where it's this pocket's a little different than that pocket, and it's like it all just kind of blends.
Yeah.
I think that would be the ultimate goal, where it's like, Austin, keep doing your thing. Now let's get Dallas and Fort Worth on the map. Let's keep Tyler going over here. Tyler's one of my favorite clubs right now.
Yeah. You've been to the New Rose City?
Oh, yeah, man. They were kind enough to give me the tickets to the soft opening, like the invite-only thing. I felt like super cool,
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's really cool.
Well, and they did it more showcase style, and they brought on the comics who had been there since like the first iteration
when
of the
it was
club.
just like a hallway.
Yeah, and so I got to see a ton of comics I didn't know, some comics that I did know, and it was just fun of this like full circle moment where they went from this small place to this big club. And so he's already booking some like really good headliners out there too. That
I was there like 2 Wednesdays ago.
Yeah.
He had me headline like a Wednesday night.
Nice.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I got to see the new club.
What'd you think?
Oh,
I mean, I know it's great, but like, it's when I walked in and saw that, because it used to be like a restaurant. And so the parts of the restaurant that they salvaged where there was this beautiful exposed wood, like when you're walking in, I was like, oh, I'm glad they were able to like keep these things without it feeling like a restaurant.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
And the food's good.
Yeah, we were the soft opening, so I think they were still working on like the servers, and so I think we had a very limited menu that night. I don't know if we had a full kitchen.
It's just cool to see something grow like that, especially from doing the old club where it was BYOB.
Mm-hmm.
What we got when we got there was like a soda if we wanted it, and it's like a back room that were with walls made of like pallets. So
the few conversations I've had with Christopher, the guy running it, like he seems motivated. He seems like he wants to, and he seems kind of what I was saying about Houston. He seems to like Tyler, and he wants to have a Tyler, like he wants to be affiliated with the community, not just I got a club.
I don't know if he's from there. I know he had lived there previously, but he's been all over.
Yeah.
And he was already in the entertainment industry. I think he
he told me he played country music.
Yeah, he did country music for a while, and I think he was like in Nashville or something like that.
We've been trying to get him on here. It's just he lives in Tyler.
Yeah.
And so I think what I'm going to have to do is go, what day are you available? And I'm going to come out to Tyler, and we'll just do this in your
cool.
club maybe. Maybe that's the move, because I don't know when he's going to – now that he's running this bigger venue, I don't know when he's going to have time to drive here.
Yeah.
2 hours here, 2 hours back, because he's probably doing something every day there right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's what always gets me excited about Texas is we just have these pockets, right? Because we were saying all that. It's like we didn't even mention, like Plano. What's the new name for Plano House of Comedy? Mic Drop, right? So we got Mic Drop Comedy in West Plano. And then we've got Comedy Arena in McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
What are all these little scenes, like the further we go north and east,
right.
Rockwall's, what's Rockwall's club out there that's trying to get something going? It's
Jack's.
A smaller one. Jack's Comedy Club. So it's like, how big is Texas comedy going to be?
Yeah.
Like who are these funny people in, what's a small town you can think of around here?
Athens or something.
Yeah. Who's some funny person out there that all of a sudden a comedy club opens up 30 minutes away that they can actually get to?
Yeah. Now they
go, maybe I'll try some stand-up. And then they meet people there and they're like, we're all going to Dallas. You want to come to Dallas, do some mics or something? It's like How many funny people are we not seeing?
Yeah.
Just because there's nothing there because Texas is so huge.
That's the crazy thing to me is like you'll meet some people that are like, yeah, I live in Tyler. And I'm like, I see you 3 times a week. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I've made that drive out to there. I went to the old venue once, and I went to the new venue.
Yeah.
Not the first venue, the one with the pallets. I went to that one.
Yeah.
Loved that spot. Absolutely loved it. And it's like I was excited about going out to both of those. And then, but even afterwards, it's like on the way back, you're like, whew, 2 hours. Like, long drive.
I remember one of the times that I went out there was with Scott Bedgood.
Yeah.
And he's from Tyler.
There.
And so he was like, yeah, we'll leave early and I'm going to take you to my favorite barbecue spot.
Nice.
And so we get there and it's like his parents, like people he went to high school with.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, no, I grew up here. It's the best barbecue place in town.
One, it's one of those, like, it's a big, small town.
Yeah.
You know, so that community, I think, is going to really embrace that club. He seems like I said, he seems like he's weaving into the community rather than just trying to say, like, here's comedy. Take it or leave it. You know, he seems like he's really involved. So I hope they really embrace it. It's a beautiful club. And so, you know, how many more of those are going to pop up?
Yeah.
It's just going to get better. And so, you know, Austin will be the hub for now, and then I think it'll switch to Texas. Like, you just got to get to Texas, you know, and go experience it.
That sounds cool, but, like, as a selfish Dallas person, I want it to be Dallas.
Dallas will be a force just because, I mean, all the inner workings have been here now for how long?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like you said, Paul's like a 20-year comic,
and
this is where he was. And, you know, he had the options to go to different areas and for whatever reason didn't.
And we have also national people like Dustin, like Tone Bell.
Ralph.
Obviously Ralph. Biggest name.
Yeah, he's the best example of what can happen right now.
Yeah.
He still has like a little bit of luck of how that all went down, but he also had, like, he took advantage of the clubs and the opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, let's work on
every
material.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was driving out to San Antonio every weekend, going to New York, you know, a couple times. Like,
well, when he was on this podcast a long time ago, and he was talking about going to Tyler when it was the cell phone shop. Like, he was explaining that. So it's like he was paying his dues and those things, putting in the work for
you
nothing.
Know, he never actually did it.
What?
The Tyler show.
Oh, no, he didn't?
He was booked on it. They had, so Christopher was telling me this last time. He was like, Ralph's the one that got away.
Oh.
They had it booked. They had everything like.
I thought he went out there.
They had everything like set up. And then like, I think that was right when Ralph popped off and his agents like canceled it.
I think he was telling me something. Maybe it was a different thing out there because he was describing like this person. Because I think Christopher bought that place from somebody else or took it over.
Maybe that's what it was.
So I think maybe it was before Christopher, because he was talking about like this guy. It's like in a cell phone repair shop, and he was like selling slices of pizza and things like that. He was describing a moment. So maybe he came in after and didn't get to book him back. But who knows? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, man, I've taken up enough of your time. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Before you get out of here, 2 things. First of all, what do you want to plug? Where do you want people to follow you at?
So follow me on Instagram. It's at FunnyCAIN. That's funny and then CAIN _. And on there you can just click the link in my bio. I update that constantly.
Yeah.
Just adding shows to that as every chance that I get. And also March 20th, Arlington Improv. I'm having a and friend show that I'll be headlining, and I really need people to go to that. I'm very excited about that.
You said it's to Arlington?
Arlington Improv.
I'm going to try to go to that one because that is the one club I've not been to yet for no reason.
Really?
There's no reason I haven't been. I just haven't gone.
It's great.
And I feel like, how have I not seen that club?
Yeah, big room. I think it holds like 300, 350.
I need to check
like
it out.
But yeah, that's March 20th, Arlington Improv, CAIN and Friends. Ticket link is in my bio. So that's the big thing that I want to plug for sure. Right.
And then who are some of the locals that you think more people need to know about? Who do you like around here?
Okay, so when you ask this, are you saying like someone that, are you saying like people that no one knows, or like are you saying that like
whatever you want? Who's somebody you like that you're like, this is a funny person and y'all should check them out?
Okay, so I like obviously like the group of friends that I have around me. That's people already been on here.
Doesn't matter.
Like Kenny Lee, Peyton Payne, Taylor P. And then some like newer people that deserve some love. Satare, Nikki Butler, Who else can I think of? Alexis Waters, Darcy Christ, her daughter, who I'm forgetting her name, but it's Darcy Christ's daughter, Madison Christ. Yeah, those are a couple examples of
Who do you think's like the biggest killer right now? Somebody you keep watching and they're just nailing it. Anybody. They don't have to be new. They don't have to be new. Anybody that you've been watching that's a local where you're just like, they're crushing it.
Oh, like every time I see them?
Sure.
Zach Webb.
Oh, okay.
Love Zach Webb. Okay. I am a huge Webb head.
Yeah. You know, I think I watched him once and it wasn't on like a full set or anything.
Yeah.
I've been dying to watch him more.
He's so funny.
Just such a uniquely him.
Yeah. And
I'm here for it.
I love his writing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zach Webb is the guy.
The only reason I have not invited him on here is I just want to see more before I talk to him.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. But anyway, cool, man. Well, appreciate it, dude. We'll get you back on here soon, and I'm definitely going to make the March 20th show.
Okay.
That's got to happen.
For sure.
Maybe I can get a group or something. But, dude,
hell yeah.
Thanks so much. Man. Let's go look at the car now.
Okay, cool.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.